Okay. We
All
are
right.
live.
And I am recording, so that is good.
Oh, yeah, I should probably do that too.
Audacity. Audacity? Audio City.
Audacity.
Audio City. Hey,
Makes me
everybody
think
that's out
of
there.
the Spatula City commercial from UHF. Do you ever see that?
I've
The Weird Al
seen,
movie?
yeah, I've seen UHF, but the Spatula City
Spatula
commercial
City.
isn't coming to me.
Nothing says I love you like the gift of a spatula.
That sounds like Weird Al.
Check. Yeah, he's something special. That Weird Al.
He's different. They in music they don't make him like that anymore.
No, not at all.
He's probably the last like that we'll see. To be honest, I can't see a younger person coming in with the same kind of character that Weird Al has
Yeah.
had over his creative life. Hello, Terry Moore, who tonight is
Terry.
not in residence with me. She's over at her
What?
mom's because
Okay.
she is watching our mom while her normal caretaker is out of town. So
Okay.
I can't holler to her
Yeah.
offline for anything. So it'll have to be through the YouTubies.
Yeah, I'll try to keep the music discussion to a
Okay.
minimum.
Yeah.
Then.
Hey, she knows her shit, man.
Yes, she
got
does.
it down.
Yes, she does.
She got it down.
All right.
Yes, I'm ready to go.
Ready to kick this sucker off. Let's do it.
Have notes up
Get to my
and
notes.
the book up and yep.
All right, here we go. You're listening to the Superman Super Show, episode number 60, The Gambling Racket in Metropolis. Hello and welcome to the Superman Super Show. I'm a host. My name is Steeven, and 1,000 miles over there to my right is another host, Mr. Ed Moore.
Howdy, folks. And let me say, right off the bat, we have been much more successful tonight than we were in our last endeavor. So
yeah, so far so
yes,
good.
We are.
And I wanted to apologize to you for last night. Last night just got away from me.
Yeah. Okay. That's cool. Just stuff like that's going to happen, man. You try to live that real life shit, and it just Yep.
Life's got a way of kicking you in the ass, don't it?
Yep. There's many times every week that I think, man, when I was 20, this shit wouldn't have happened. Yeah. And that's all I do is think that, and then I move on.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do about it.
No, yeah, it's like
We got a bit of feedback. It actually goes back to June. It was we got it right after the last episode went up, which tells you how long it's been since our last episode went up. But I thought I'd go ahead and share it.
Okay.
Comes from a fellow podcaster, Billy D. And he says, hey, guys, I just wanted to send a note to tell you it's been great interacting with you on YouTube. Also, great job getting your A1C down and working hard to lose some weight. It's a struggle for sure, but you seem to be heading in the right direction. Oh, and the episode where people got blowed up was hilarious. Keep up the good work.
Thanks, Billy. Terry Moore, I just noticed your comment. You read the correct books. Is that comic books or what? Because
maybe that's a Jack Ryan reference, since we talked about Jack Ryan the other
day. Jack Ryan is banter for the next episode, not this one.
So okay, I'm ready for that.
We have to stay with the notes. Yeah, otherwise we run out of banter.
Let me ask you a question. Why do scuba divers fall off the boat backwards?
I would. Do you know, or you're asking me why?
Because if they fell forward, they'd still be on the boat.
Yeah. Okay. Boo, Dad. Boo.
Oh, Terry's saying, yeah. Last time
you had not
read the correct books.
Yeah. Yes, you're right. And not only that, but I think I probably will have read even one more story than we'll be able to talk about tonight. So I am that prepared.
Yep. Yeah, I just read the 3.
So.
All right. Well, let's get to it, man.
Fall in the boat.
Unless you got some more banter, because this is the banter section.
That joke just Yeah,
I have
right.
a dad joke of
Right.
the day calendar, and that was a recent one. It's most of them are. A lot of them are just even so bad that I can't even stand it. But that was one of them. That's my favorite of the month.
That's
So,
pretty dad jokey for sure.
yeah. All right, today we're looking at the gambling racket in Metropolis, which appears in Action Comics number 32. It was written by Jerry Siegel with art by Jack Burnley. Action Comics number 32 has a cover date of January 1942, but an approximate on-sale date of November 21st, 1940. I think I said 1942 the last time we tried to do this one. I haven't corrected that in the notes. It's 1941.
41. It's like, wow, they went a whole year plus.
Yeah.
Dude, that was on the stands a long time.
Right. Let me tell you what happened in this story. After saving a man from a suicide attempt, Superman, as Clark Kent, confronts the mayor about the Preston Club, which is a gambling den. When they arrive, the evidence is hidden from view, leaving Preston free from charges. Lois goes undercover to get into the club and gather evidence. When the owner learns she is a reporter, she is forced to drink poison, which leaves her a zombie. In her zombie state, Lois sees Superman change into Clark Kent. Only by using mental hypnosis is Superman able to cure Lois. Fortunately, though, she recalls nothing that happened while drugged. Superman then smashes the gambling ring and uses the crypto ray gun to gather evidence. The mayor was involved as well because his son was turned into a zombie by Preston. Superman cures the boy and brings the guilty parties to justice. Ed, what'd you think about this one?
You know, what struck me about this story is how earlier this evening when I was over with Terry at her mom's house, we watched an episode of Bones that involved someone's 8-year-old son being used as leverage against them.
Oh.
And it's like, wow, is it that popular that like everybody is doing it? No, I don't know what. I think this was an early season of Bones, which could be 12 to 15 or more years ago. So it's, but yeah, it struck me when I was reading this. I'm like, hey, they used the boy on that show too. So, I liked it. I mean, yeah, Superman and the mob. Okay. Can we, let's get, I don't know, super bad guys, or even, how about this? Uh, our dates here are 41, 40 and 41. Let's do some World War II punching Nazi stories. That would be pretty hip right about now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know, 60 stories into Superman, and I think him fighting mobsters is about done. I mean,
it's played out. I agree. The only thing that saved it were like these three crazy elements. The Lois being forced to drink poison, which turns her into a zombie.
Right.
Superman just knowing something called mental hypnosis. He just stares her in the eyes. Boom, she just pops out of it. Right. And then he invents this thing called a crypto ray gun, which does not do anything. It doesn't do what it sounds like it should do.
No.
It's a camera that then projects the photos onto a wall.
Yeah, which really isn't an invention, because I believe at this time they had video cameras already.
Yeah.
Talkies in the 40s, they had talkies and moving so it's like, that's not.
The advantage would be that they don't have to take the film anywhere in for processing. He just snaps the picture and then shines it on the wall.
Almost more like a kid's toy of some sort or something like that, where you shine it on the
and it looks like a ray gun. I mean, and the fact that Superman, this is the second time that he has. Well, it's the first time we've seen him actually invent something.
Mm-hmm.
He mentions once that he invented the material that his costume is made out of.
Right, yeah.
Which is like an indestructible material.
To make his suit there.
So obviously he's a smart guy.
Well, I think this story in particular lets us know that Superman apparently is the smartest man in the room. which is always kind of,
Yeah.
come on. With everything else, he's the smartest guy in the room, So
Well, in the Silver Age, it's like they basically said, all right, well, Superman is super. It's not just his super strength or his vision, his hearing. Everything about him is super. He's
okay.
super smart. I'm assuming he has super taste buds. I don't know, but everything about him in the Silver Age was super. But I
Well,
think
but
this is one of the first times, except for him talking about his costume that he invented, this is one of the first times we really see him being super smart, I guess.
well, nowadays though, that is a negative, and the word or the concept, I guess, Mary Sue comes to mind,
Yeah.
or what is the guy Bobby Joe or something? I forget what the male
Hmm.
equivalent to that is, but Mary's. It's like, well, yeah, I mean, I guess literature of all the different varieties has been around long enough that you can't do that kind of stuff anymore.
Yeah. Well, in the Silver Age, from what I understand, they just a lot of times would make up superpowers for him based on whatever story they wanted to tell. So if they needed him to get out of a certain situation, they'd be like, all right, so maybe he is super smart. And that's how he figured this out, or
Okay,
so that, and they kind of do that here in the Golden Age, just not to that extent, because I don't
right.
know that they have thought of, I don't know that maybe they're not creative enough to come up with some of the wacky powers that they got in the
Right.
Silver Age, but yeah.
Yeah,
Mental
it's just,
hypnosis, though, is pretty funny.
well, now that, of all the ways to get out of poisoning, well, maybe if what can we do? We can hypnotize them and it'll cure them. It's like,
Yeah.
dog, they're poisoned. They're going to die. How does mental hypnosis? Okay. Yeah. Okay, cool.
And the mental hypnosis and the crypto ray gun, they just introduce them into the story like it's no big deal. Like we should just believe, oh yeah, super, all right, he knows how mental hypnosis. That's a thing. I
Yep.
buy that.
It's
Oh, he's just gonna sit down and create this crypto ray gun. Okay. It's Superman. That's what he does.
Yep. They're
And
giving you the elbow. Just go
yeah,
with it.
yeah, yeah. They don't even. I almost appreciate that. They're just like, here's a concept. Just deal with it. We're moving on.
Right. Yeah.
you know.
This is what he did.
You
It's
know.
like, okay.
Um.
Starts a little bit more. Um, I was going to say pedestrian, but not pedestrian. A little bit more common man almost, in
Yeah.
that it's a suicide off a bridge, and I don't mean to belittle that or downplay that. Um, as a matter of fact, there was here in the news just a couple weeks ago. We've got a massive bridge just about an hour north of us, the New River Gorge Bridge, which was the longest single arch bridge in the world up until a couple years ago. And of course, the
Yeah.
Chinese, with all their technological wonders, built one bigger. But a local wrestler was going home from a show and saw the dude and stopped and talked him
Oh
down,
wow.
and was being recognized by media and
Cool.
by the company that he wrestles for and everything like that. And
Nice.
so it happens. My point is, it happens everywhere, even
Yeah.
here in southern West Virginia or nearby. But to start Superman with the hypno and the krypton and oh, a suicide off a bridge is how you're going to start that story. It's like,
It
wow.
felt that opening felt like one of the original stories, because that kind of shit used to happen all the time. However many issues it was ago, he would,
Right.
something like that. I got, well, the one where he was, what is it, Superman versus bad drivers or whatever, where
Okay. Right.
his
There
friend
was.
got hit by the car, and
Hmm.
then he just went on a rampage around town, destroying car lots and car factories and stuff. So that's what I expected here. Once he found out, once that guy told him, oh, well, it's because I got this gambling debt and I'm married and I have a kid and I'm
Right.
ruining their life. I just assumed he'd go, all right, strap his costume on and go and wreck him a gambling den, but
Right.
not at all. He goes to the cops first, and it's one of my favorite scenes in this book because the cop tells him, it's like the chief of police, and he basically tells him, why bother me? I'm helpless to act without instructions from the mayor.
That's weak sauce, man.
Yeah, he needs to be voted out of office.
Yeah, yeah. And of course, as soon as what up, Doug?
What up, Doug?
As soon as you got to the mayor here in this panel, you could tell, well, he's going to be involved somehow. I mean, that was obvious, I thought, so.
Yeah, now I didn't expect that I suspected right off the bat, all right, yeah, he's part of this.
Mm-hmm.
He's an inside man, but I didn't expect them to flip it on us and find out it was because, they poisoned his son, and then he decides,
he was coerced.
He decides, oh, I'm not going to take this crap from you anymore, and stands up to him.
Yeah.
Did you make note of the number of times Superman hangs from a ledge in this story?
I think I had 3.
I think it's 3. Yeah.
3? Okay. Yeah. That's and if it's 3, then that is the most. I think maybe one time early on we had 2, so that's the most we've had in one story.
Yeah.
And they all came really close together too. It seemed like in the story.
Yep. Yeah. I think Siegel was writing up this story, and he goes, you know what? We haven't had Superman hang from a ledge in a while. I'll do it 3 times in this story.
I need to make up for that. Let's yeah. That was like only the second story note he wrote down. He's like, make Superman hang times 3. So anything else he was going to do in this story, that was going to be there.
Story goals, number 1. Superman hangs from a ledge 3 times.
3 times, yeah.
The guy who owns the Preston Club, Preston, I mean, he just looks like a bad guy.
I wonder what nationality they were going for.
Yeah.
He has kind of a hawkish nose, hawkish bill, right? Smoothed black hair, which that doesn't necessarily mean anything, but he was kind of darker complected.
Yep.
Well dressed, but then he's in charge of a gentleman's club, so you would kind of expect that. But I just wonder, I got some kind of Middle Eastern kind of flair off of him.
Yeah, probably.
So I don't know what he was supposed to be. A lot of the other guys, they just struck me as, Irish or Italian, Catholics, just the run of the mill kind of maybe underhanded mobby kind of guys we're used to.
Yeah.
But this dude, I think he was a little nationality. He was representative of a different mob there in Metropolis, not the normal Italians or the Jewish mob or the Irish or something else. He was something else.
Yeah. Lois's role in this story, I thought was kind of funny.
As what you mean, where she went and changed?
Yeah, she puts on the slinky dress, and she apparently calls many male friends of hers to get her into this club. She finally gets a guy, and we get him for 2 panels. He has no speaking part at all. Once she's in the club, he's done. We don't need him anymore.
Very literally, it seems in this panel, giving him the brush. It's like, go the flick over the shoulder, go.
And then, like most gambling dens, they immediately just hand her over a bunch of chips. Here's a bunch of money. Go ahead and gamble.
Right.
She loses it all.
They don't check bona fides. They don't check money. They don't. It's just like, oh, you're here. Here's your chips. Also note that she is wearing the 1940s equivalent of the little black dress because it's green.
Yeah.
It's not a black dress that came later in fashion.
Yeah, or they just realized that maybe they're not good at coloring black stuff.
Well, maybe it was too much black in one place. It looked like they scribbled in the frame or something like that.
She looks good in it, though.
Yep.
So she racks up all this gambling debt, and then when they ask her to pay, she's like, "Oh, I'm not sorry, I don't have any money." And they immediately muscle her into the office where Preston's waiting, and he immediately goes through her purse to try to find money and finds her press credentials, and that's when he forces her to drink this poison by telling her, "Drink the poison, or I'm going to shoot you in the head."
Right. So drink and die, or I'll shoot you and you'll die.
Yep.
It's,
She made the right choice.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, she doesn't die from the poison, but she didn't know that. It's like, well,
Yeah,
here,
right.
this is
Yeah.
poison. Drink it, which to me means, well, I drink it and I die. And it's like, well, your alternative is to be shot and die. It's,
Well, and then once they have her poisoned, which turns her into a zombie, basically, they just kind of let her go. She's just out there roaming around in the driveway. Superman, for some reason, he's got some thugs that are following Clark Kent that are going to take him out. So he changes into Superman and takes out the thugs. And then he starts changing. He starts putting his Clark clothes back on, just standing in the middle of this driveway out in front of this club.
right.
And that's when Lois just kind of wanders up, and he's like, "Oh crap! Now she knows who I am." But luckily, no, she was zombified. Superman's so pissed off about it, though, that he throws both of the thugs through a window into the club, which was pretty awesome.
And it's vicious enough that we don't even get to see what happens. We just see him throw them. So
they have multiple broken bones at the very least.
It was bad at the other end.
Yeah. Based on Superman's size in the foreground and the size of the window in the background, that is a long. He's thrown them half a football field at least.
Mm-hmm. Now, my question is, did they both make it through the window?
Right.
Because if not,
we don't know.
That's ouch.
The big guy looks like he's not quite heading toward that window, to tell you the truth.
The dude in the green is a little low in trajectory, it looks. Now, could be that it's because we just saw Superman throw him. So there's still a lot of the arch there in the throw to go. Maybe, but it's like, dog, you better hope that he got that right, because yeah.
But if he got both of them through the window, then he should be playing football, which we have seen him do.
Yes.
But
yes,
that's a good shot.
Speaking of football, we have not seen him play baseball yet, have we?
No, and that's the American pastime.
I thought during this time that was a huge sport. So they haven't put him in a baseball field anyhow, but they figured out a way to put him on a football field. So.
And a boxing ring.
Yes. Yep.
So it makes you wonder, is Jerry Siegel just not a fan of baseball, maybe?
That's rather un-American. Let's not talk about that.
That's right.
In the 40s, World War II, not like in baseball. Man, that's a sure sign right there.
Baseball and apple pie, man.
Yep.
The little zombie boy is kind of creepy, the way he's just staring at you.
And you made mention of, well, they just poisoned Lois and turned her loose. Well, they turned the boy loose when they poisoned him as well.
Yeah.
So I guess there is not, other than Superman, there is not a cure for whatever the hell they're doing, which is kind of crappy. I mean,
Yeah, because the boy's just there in the office with the mayor.
Yep.
Just being a zombie.
And it's his son, by the way, for those of you who don't have access to the story. That's ultimately why the mayor is involved, because somehow dude got a hold of the mayor's son and made him drink. And the same thing happened to him that had happened to Lois that we saw. And interestingly enough, Superman fixes the boy the same way that he fixes Lois. I guess it's like, well, he wasn't sure, tried it on Lois, it worked. So when it came to the boy, he knew what to do that time.
And we got Superman hanging from a ledge, watching as the mayor stands up to Preston.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, "Nice going, Mayor," out loud. And the Preston is so mad that he just throws the mayor and Lois into a car and drives the car off a cliff.
Yeah, there we go.
But Superman, who apparently still can't fly,
Oh,
Yet
come on.
manages to leap down, grab them from the car, and get back up onto the cliff at the same time.
Come on. Yeah.
Yeah.
He can't fly.
Which, let me look that up again. Which issue does Superman first fly? Well, this website is giving this British magazine, the cover of Triumph magazine from August 5th, 1939. That looks like he's flying.
Well, looks like he's flying is one thing. I mean, all of these look like he's flying.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. Well, they don't. This article doesn't give an issue. I know I've seen it. It's Superman number 10. So we have 2 more issues of Superman before we officially see him fly, which from what I understand was basically the same thing we got here. He's not meant to be flying. Well, the artist drew him flying, not knowing that he's not supposed to be able to fly. And that's when they're kind of like, I don't know, man, I guess he flies now.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
But yeah, he's sure as heck flying in this one, and he sure as heck is flying in the next one as well. So
it's not the leaping around, because the Hulk leaps, and he doesn't do stuff like this. The Hulk goes up and he comes down. That's it's not he catches things or he moves in some other direction. I mean, to jump, you have to go up, and then once you're up, you have to come down. Those are the only options in jumping.
Yeah, and you have no real control once you're up there where you're going to come down. Superman, however, seems to be able to control where he lands and what he does while he's in the air in mid-leap, which is called flying. I mean, it's defying gravity is what he's doing, which in essence is flying. But whatever, they won't make it official until later.
Well, it's coming up. So we've got 4, 8, and probably no more probably than 4 action stories. So in about 10 or 12 more stories, we'll get him flying finally.
But the way this wraps up, Superman saves the mayor and Lois from the car. He's already cured the mayor's son. He gives the crypto ray gun to Lois. He's already taken pictures of the casino, and then she flashes it on the wall for the cops. And all said and done, the end.
Yep.
The mayor is very worried, though, in that last panel. But it involves me also. I'm ruined. But Lois clarifies, you'll be cleared, Mayor, when I testify that Preston forced you to betray your office against your will. So, okay, well, that's all we need to hear.
In order to feel any of that tension, though, you have to read the word bubbles in the correct order. Because if you in my mind, if you read the top bubble first, she's already giving him the there, it's okay, and it's like, well, but he hasn't said anything. Well, it's
like he's not listening to her.
Yeah, it's like there's so much going on in that panel that it's like you kind of give away the lead before we get to
All in all, of the 3 stories we have read for tonight's live taping of the Superman Super Show, this was probably my least favorite of the 3.
I agree.
In general, though, while it started out feeling very basic, it had some fun elements in it that took it just a little bit higher than some of those early stories.
I agree as well. Yeah, it's not the least entertaining of the stories, but it does make the list of the least entertaining stories, and the thing that keeps it from bottoming out are, like you said, the zombie, the gun, the hypnosis from, which is, I guess, another power that we have to keep up with from his eyes, that he can super hypnotize people, or can he? Because they're not hypnotized, so you know.
I don't know. And they refer to it as mental hypnosis. I don't
I'm
know what
sorry,
the
mental.
difference
Yeah,
is. I don't know if that just means that he doesn't have to do anything like you're getting sleepy
right.
before he hypnotizes them. All he's got to do is bzzz, and they're hypnotized, you know?
Well, I'll tell you who would know if we wanted to get in touch and ask would be Penn and Teller. They would know.
They would know. I'll make a call later.
Oh, okay.
It's usually a Teller, though, that answers, and I never know if he's answered or not. So.
Well,
he's the one that doesn't talk, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Otherwise, that joke didn't work.
Penn is the big dude. Although he's not as big as he used to be because he lost a lot of weight.
Yes, he did. Yeah,
health reasons.
I saw him on. I think it was there was a Kevin Smith documentary that they put out just before. I think it's before he made Clerks 3. It was right after Jay and Silent Bob reboot. But he apparently Penn is very much into the whole vegetarian diet thing. That's how he lost all the weight. And he got Kevin Smith onto that after he had the heart attack. And that's how Kevin Smith lost all the weight.
Okay, so, I was going to say, I know Kevin lost a lot of weight too. So,
I just can't imagine only eating vegetables.
It's not as bad as you think.
There's only a handful of vegetables I like.
Well, see, you have to expand that to. Plus, I would imagine that it incorporates a lot more spices, perhaps, than we normally eat with in order to. Plus, there is the option of something like tofu.
Yes, that's true.
Or tepe, which is another kind of substitute. Which Terry can attest to this. We eat tofu, not necessarily regularly, but it is part of our meal rotation.
Is tofu a bean?
It is fermented bean, and it's made into a paste of differing viscosity depending on how you want it. You can get it very shake-like, or you can get it very old Jello-like, and anything in between. So it's.
Terry says that tofu is yummy, and I'm just going to take your word on it, Terry, because the way Ed's describing it, it doesn't sound great.
It's not as bad, and I understand. I get that.
When you start talking about viscosity,
it's like vegetables don't have. You're right, they don't. But that's just the thing. I mean, you can do anything from like making a what is the thing where you grind up a whole bunch of fruits in a blender?
A smoothie.
A smoothie. You can make a smoothie all the way up to including cubes of it with noodles or rice or things like that. So I mean, all of those consistencies in between. Yeah, there we go. Silken and firm.
Yeah, thank you, Terry. That helps a lot more.
That is varying levels of viscosity. It's
yes, it is.
No,
you're right.
Okay, not viscosity. Water content.
Yes.
There is a difference in water content. There is that. Be more scientific in it, and it sounds better. Yes. Okay.
Silken though makes me think of chocolate. So.
Okay. It really doesn't taste like chocolate, but okay, if that's what you want to go with, go with it. That's cool. Yeah.
All right. Is there anything else you want to say about what was this one called? The gambling racket in Metropolis.
Superman eats tofu also.
Oh, I'm sure he does.
He does.
I don't think he needs. I wonder if he really even needs to eat anything, or how often he really needs to eat. I'm assuming he has to eat something.
I would think that he eats like the Flash eats.
Yeah, you would think.
You need something to power that machine, man. So it's yeah. Oh, but yeah, I'm good.
Did you notice that? I don't know that I have noticed this before in any of the other Superman stories thus far,
Okay.
but the Superman shield on his cape, the S is blue instead of
Uh,
red on his
no,
chest.
I don't know. I don't think
We see
and
it
that,
maybe once in
yeah, I
this
was going to
issue.
say, does that even pop up? Because I mean, here, there's a scene here where he's hanging and you can clearly see the back of the cape and it's not on that. But I know that there is that one panel where it was drawn.
Yeah, it's the same panel. It's the same page where the Preston is giving Lois the poison,
Poison. Yeah,
threatens
he's
to kill her.
looking at the
Yeah,
thugs waiting for Clark.
yeah, he's got
Yeah,
that
you're
blue.
right. It's plain as day on there, but there are several other panels where it could have been, and it's not
It's just not there.
remotely on his cape. So I wonder
Yeah,
why that one and not others.
I don't know. It's weird. It's
If it
Jack
was all
Burnley. It's not like he's got this weird. Jack
well,
Jack's
it,
usually pretty on the game.
unless everything wasn't drawn by him,
Mm, good point.
you know. So
Should we mention the cover real quick, because this is another cover that has absolutely nothing to do with what's inside, and it appears to have one of the dreadnoughts from GI Joe in a lab jacket on the front.
yes, yeah, there is. Yeah, I mean, it not only does it not have anything to do with the story, but it even steers you in a completely different direction.
Yeah, yeah,
The
you're
on
expecting a mad scientist type story.
his energy is supplied by solar radiation. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that actually I think that is true. That's why
That
he's
is, yeah.
super strong under a red sun, but he loses power under a yellow sun, which is what Krypton was under, and
And I
etc.
think
etc.
I think it was the John Byrne Superman reboot that established that he's like basically a
Oh,
solar
really?
battery,
Okay.
and that's.
And
But I could be wrong.
Terry, without saying anything, I will assume that you threw that out there because you know that and did not look that up. So don't say otherwise. Way to go, points for that one.
That's right.
Um, the cover though has Superman busting through a wall, presumably to rescue a guy that looks like he's in the same kind of chair contraption that they electrocute people in. That they
Yep.
yeah, what is it called when?
The electric chair,
Yeah,
capital
execution.
punishment,
Uh, uh,
execution.
yeah, the kind of with the cap, and I'm sure if you lifted the cap, there's a wet sponge under there and all that kind of
Yep.
stuff. And off to the side over here is a, uh, I guess he's a mad scientist at his.
I'm telling you, it's one of the
It's
dreadnoughts from GI Joe.
okay. Yeah, he's got makeup over his eyes and he's got a mohawk, and but he's pulling a big one of the big
Big
U-shaped
lever.
electrical switches, to
Yeah.
electrocute the so. And actually, doesn't this dude look like his um, contact in special services or whatever it is? Was that in one of the stories that we're talking about tonight, or was that in the fourth one that I
He.
read? That was in the World War
It's
II
in the.
story.
It's in the third one. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Doesn't he's dressed with the brown and the green
Yep.
tie? Isn't that
Yep.
Jack Clark or Clark something or something like that? That's so. I
Yeah.
wonder
Something like that.
because what is this? This is a cover to Action, and those stories were in the Superman book.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know, but I mean this. Although he didn't rescue him from anything like this, so yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was just a file that they had. They had this in the files, and they went ahead and used it for the cover.
Yeah. Yeah. I assume that's how most of these covers are, because it's pretty rare so far that we have seen a cover that has anything to do. Some of it very tangentially has
Mm-hmm.
something to do with what's inside,
Mm-hmm.
but typically
Yeah.
no.
See, Doug likes tofu also. If it's
Doug loves
prepared
tofu.
right. Now that is a key because tofu will take on the flavor of whatever it's cooked in, spices,
Yeah.
other things that are in the dish. So that you have to think about that for a moment. You just don't go get tofu and throw it in with something, and it's like no, you gotta
So would you say it's got a spongy viscosity?
Not if it's cooked correctly. Not if it's
Mm.
prepared right, like Doug said.
But it absorbs like a sponge.
Yes. Like Bounty. No, never mind. That's probably even worse.
A quicker picker upper.
Yeah. It picks up like a paper towel. Yeah. No, that's not it either. It is unique though. It's
Yeah.
really hard to. It's hard to explain or describe in overly appetizing ways.
Right.
So.
Well, if I ever get the opportunity, I'll give it a try. Not going to go out of my way,
Definitely.
though.
Yeah, you're in a restaurant somewhere, and you see a dish and you like the sounds of the dish. It has tofu, or even better, it's a dish and it comes with various protein options, and one of them is tofu.
Yeah.
Give it a try and see.
All right, we'll do. Okay, anything else on this issue?
No, sir.
All right, I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Until next week, folks, I'm Steven and that's Ed. And this was the Superman Super Show.
Ciao. Bye.
Let's save this one. Okay, that's episode 60. I need to back up this hard drive. I haven't done that in a while. I'm going to do that tonight.
A little hard to do a key change when you're whistling.
Yeah. There's a nerdcore rap song that came out a while back, simply because there was an episode of Jeopardy in which one of the contestants was a female. Not that matters, but Alex Trebek. So this was before he retired. He is, he's doing the thing where he's talking to the contestant and he's like, so it says here that you're a fan of nerdcore rap or something like that. What's that? And she tries to explain what it is, and he basically says, oh, so it's music for losers. And so a couple of nerdcore rappers got together and put out a song called Suck It Trebek.
Wow.
Yeah.
Alex,
music
that
for
is...
losers, right?
Dude.
It's like, way to alienate a portion of your audience in one statement,
Most of your audience that plays your damn show.
Probably.
I mean, dude, yeah. Come on. Okay, I'm ready to go.
I'm ready to go as well.
Go, whoa. Okay. You're listening to the Superman Super Show, episode 61, The Giants of Professor Z. Howdy and welcome to the Superman Super Show. I'm a host. My name's Ed. And 1,000 miles over there to my left is another host, Mr. Steven Orr.
Hello.
This past weekend, I think it was this. Yeah, pretty sure it was this past weekend. Terry and I were sitting there, and we have a Fire Stick, and Fire Stick gives you more possibilities of watching stuff than you can ever do. I mean, there's stuff all over the place. We're just looking around. We sat down and watched, and I think Terry did also, but I thoroughly enjoyed the first episode of Bob Ross.
Like as in the original painter guy?
Yes.
Really, yeah.
His show, the very first episode that he ever did. And it's become kind of a joke, but it is no joke. The man starts with nothing. Yeah. He does nothing. And at the end of the episode, he has a picture that you completely understand what it is.
Yeah.
And it's just,
he makes it look effortless. He when he takes the paint knife and he makes a tree with it. And he just like scrape. It's like it looks so easy, but there's no way I could do that.
I know. You just take this and you dab, and I'm like, but all I'm going to get is just splotches on the can.
Right?
It's like, no, it's leaves, and I'm like, how do you
I think
do that?
I think that's one of the most fun thing about those shows is, yeah, he literally in most cases starts out with a blank canvas, and you just watch. And there, it's not like he's doing superhero. He's just doing like a landscape of some sort,
Right? Yeah.
a pond with a tree next to it, or a mountain range. But it's like at one point you're kind of watching it, going, he's just throwing paint on this
Exactly. That
canvas.
doesn't
I have
look
no
like
idea what
anything.
he's
What is
doing.
that?
And then suddenly, within a second, it's just like, boom, those are mountains. That is so cool.
He's reached out behind the canvas and he turned it on, and you're like,
Yeah.
I see it. Yeah,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
it is just remarkable. Yeah, Terry said to me, yeah, but we just sat there, and I mean, I was watching. I'm like, okay,
Oh
you're
yeah.
not going to trick me. I'm going to see what you do. Now, it didn't help.
And
I
it's
just,
very he's very soothing.
oh yeah, that very zen. Maybe
Yeah.
that's what it is. He hypnotizes you and he switches the
That's right.
canvas, and it's
Yeah.
like
You don't
it's,
know.
that's the
Yeah.
whole point of it. Yeah.
He's using mental hypnosis on you.
He is, man. It's in his voice. And we have a little tree. And
You can't see this if you're just listening to the audio, but Ed just mimed the
yeah,
the act
I'm
of
switching
switching canvases.
canvases. Oh man, but
Yeah.
yeah, it is just he was a at a time when you there just wasn't a whole lot of stuff like that going on. There was no really magic of television per se. But there is just something
Yeah.
about, yeah, what he did. It was remarkable.
Yeah. We used to when I worked at Walgreens, every Christmas when they would bring out all just the crap gifts that would go up at the very top of all the shelves
Hmm.
for those people that forgot that it's Christmas and would come in on Christmas Eve and gather up a bunch of crap stuff. We always had various chia pets of some sort, and I remember the year we got the Bob Ross chia pet, and so his big afro was the
Yes.
plant.
Yes.
I always wanted to get one, but I never did. There's a YouTube channel out there called Nerd Sync, and that dude did an episode about Bob Ross and how how he got into the business and how he took painting and built this big empire out of it
Mhm.
and everything. It's really kind of interesting.
Yeah. Now I will say, full disclosure, there are stories that perhaps he was a little bit more underhanded about
Yeah,
his whole painting gig as it relates to the TV show Forward. Now he
yeah,
was an artist of a sort before then. He was a commercial artist, I believe, and maybe did something and didn't credit the right people or whatever from the TV show period of his life until his death.
yeah.
Maybe I don't know. I wasn't there. I don't so I
Did
don't know. But the stories are out there. I think
Yeah,
that's part of what the movie is about. That has the comedic actor playing Bob Ross with the
yeah. The
broken
Wilson
nose.
guy, Owen,
Yeah,
or yeah,
Owen Wilson.
yeah,
A
yeah. I haven't
book.
seen that yet.
I think there's a book about Bob Ross that purports to get into some. So okay, whatever. All I know, because I haven't read and I haven't seen that. I just know his TV show.
Yeah,
It's left an
yeah,
impression on me since I was little.
and the Nerd Sync video does get into that. So if anybody's out there interested, but they don't have time or the money to go see the movie or buy a book, just look up Bob Ross Nerd Sync and watch that video. But unfortunately, there are just very few people in the world that come into the public spotlight like that. Especially they kind of come out of nowhere and they build this empire that maintain being a nice person. I think Fred Rogers is one of the few that has
Yes,
ever done it.
for
You
sure.
know,
He was, yeah. Yeah, he's another one that just had this very different air. When you watched the show, you were like, okay,
yeah,
yeah.
yep. Oh, Mr. Rogers.
Alrighty, guys. After our Bob Ross and Fred Rogers talk, yeah, Fred Rogers was on a huge part of my childhood as well. Fred Rogers,
Yeah, me too.
Electric Company, Sesame
Mm-hmm.
Street, all PBS shows. Because
Yep.
unlike a lot of you kids today, growing up, I was lucky. I actually had 3 channels I could watch.
Yeah.
And one of them was PBS. I think almost everybody could get a hold of PBS and watch it. So that
Oh
was
yeah.
almost guaranteed. But yeah, three. I can go in there, and I'm lucky if I can only name 3 channels that I've got. I mean, I've got
Yeah. Yeah.
probably several dozens times 3 at my disposal, if not more nowadays. But yeah, 3 channels. Believe it or not, guys, 3 channels is what we had growing up. And I know Terry has stories of this also. One or more of those channels required somebody going outside to physically turn an antenna in order to get
Yeah.
it in. So it's like
Yep.
at any one time, you probably only got one unless somebody was willing to carry their ass outside and make some changes. Yeah. So
Yep.
there you go. That's tough. That's hard times, Daddy.
Back when you used to walk to school uphill both
Yep.
ways in 10 feet of snow.
Other than Terry, I'll give anybody bonus points if they recognize who I just threw out there, who I was imitating when I said that. So that's only people of a particular fandom will probably recognize that. So that Terry,
Terry says we are old.
we are old. Yes, we are. Together, baby, together. All right, folks. Today we're going to look at The Giants of Professor Z, which is the first story to appear in Superman issue number 8, written by Jerry Siegel and artisted by Paul Cassidy, also known as drawn by. Superman issue number 8 has a cover date of February 1941, with an on sale date of November 10th, 1940. That information comes to us by way of Mike's Amazing World of Comics. Here's what's happened. Here's what's okay. I was doing so well. I thought I was speaking pretty well through all that. Had to hold on to the antenna inside to watch certain. Oh yeah, that too. That was.
Yep. Wrap aluminum foil on the bunny ears.
Oh the days.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. In issue number 8, the first story, scientists Professor Z and Professor Carlos. Actually, I believe it's Dr. Cardos. It's not Professor.
Yep. Yep.
Professor is Z. Cardos is Doctor in the story.
Yep.
They've discovered a way to increase the size of living organisms. Using this discovery, they create a group of giant men who run rampant, causing destruction. One of the giants abducts the governor and his daughter while Superman tries to corral them. Corral the giants, not the governor and his daughter. Battling the giants in the mountains, Superman causes an avalanche which takes out a few of the giants, but he himself is dragged under. He escapes, but not before Lois Lane is captured while looking on from an aircraft. In Professor Z's laboratory, the girls being Lois and the governor's daughter, appear to be enlarged by the machine. Superman destroys the lab while Z and Cardos are trampled by their own giant creations. Lois and the governor's daughter are okay, as their growth was only an illusion, and the last of the giants are killed in the destruction of the lab. So, what do you think? And before you say what you would think, you were right. I did dig this story, so thanks for the heads up.
This story was insane, and one of those. Oh, Billy D's arrived. He says, "The son of a plumber, Dusty Rhodes."
Thank you, Billy. Thank you for not letting that go to waste.
I think because we only had 3 people showing when you were talking about that, so I think he was watching, and then he was like, "I got to log in real quick and answer that question."
Well, yes, because he watches on his TV.
Yeah,
which doesn't allow the input, so he's got to pull out the phone and get on YouTube and yeah.
But the Giants of Professor Z was insane. This was one of those Superman stories that there just literally is not enough room on these pages to contain everything about this story. There's just so much going on that I was confused instantly from that first panel that has the Superman title in it, where we see Superman punching this giant. Immediately, I'm confused. I thought that was an issue with the art. Why does this guy look like a giant?
Okay.
Certainly, there's not a giant in this story, even though the story is called The Giants of Professor Z. But no, not only are there giants, apparently they also, when you change somebody into a giant, they become bald and they all look the same because all the giants are wearing the same clothes. They all look the same. They're just like cloned giants almost, everyone they show. And remind me, what was the point? What were they trying to do by creating these giants? Were they holding anything hostage? Were they trying to get money? I don't remember.
I don't think so. I think the gist was Ric Flair. That would have been a good choice. I wanted to be Hulk Hogan, but um, they had this discovery, and of course, to test it out, ultimately they had to try it on humans. Which
Yeah,
okay, that kind of follows. But now, yeah, after you make giant humans, what what becomes your point? And maybe part of the point here was that they broke into the mint and scooped out great handfuls of loot. Maybe
yeah,
because it just seems that they're like, you know, let's see what it does. Oh, he grows into a giant. Okay, set him loose. Let's get another guy. And they just make them and set them out there, make them and set them out. And ultimately, starting out, they never said anything. Um,
yeah.
they were the protectors of the lab, but again, to what end? I mean, you're protecting the lab. World domination, Terry said, could be
Yeah, maybe.
make
Because
a
at
make an
first you
army of
just
giant men.
yeah. Because at first you just assume the way it starts out, it's almost like they create this. They got this formula. They turn whatever kind of freaking animal that is. I don't know what that's supposed to be into a giant version of whatever
I'm not
muskrat or
sure.
earless bunny or whatever. But
It looks like a whistle pig, but it's got big bunny feet on it, and it's got
yeah.
no ears. And yeah, I don't know what that is.
And so they decide, all right, well, we got to test it out on humans. They make this one guy into a giant, and then the dude just goes insane and starts running all over the town, destroying things and kicking over trains and just punching people and killing them. And so at first you're like, okay, so this was not a they were not trying to create something for evil or for violence. It just got out of their control. With science run amok. So
Right,
now they got to
right.
figure out how to stop it. But no, they just let it go and create more. And they have their own secret lab in the freaking Arctic or whatever. And
Well, you've got the one panel here where they're the huge giants erecting great homes. So
yes,
they're building. It's like, yeah. Other than just to build up more menace, more for Superman to have to deal with. It's like, what are you doing? Where are you going? What is
yeah,
this? And then, of course, you throw in the cat there, and it's like,
yeah.
oh my
I just got
goodness.
to that
Okay.
page.
Yeah, it's like, oh wow, okay. So you did it to a poor cat, also.
Yeah, and I totally, you see this giant cat. It's perched there by this road, and there's a car coming by, and sure enough, the cat just reaches out and swipes at the car, and knocks it over. And any one of my cats would do that very same thing.
Oh yeah,
Seeing
absolutely.
seeing something go by it, anything in motion, the cats are like, "Oh, I got to get that," you know. So I think Siegel had a cat,
I'm
and
going to work it into the next Superman story.
yeah,
Yeah, first line of that story outline. Get cat in it. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. That's
more story goals.
yeah.
And is it just me, or are the look of these giants the template for future Lex Luthor?
Oh yeah. And notice along with making them giant, apparently it creates the same clothing on each of them as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
The purple top and green shorts, and
Yep.
it gives them alopecia. They have no hair,
Right.
so
Yeah.
yeah.
It's like they're not only making giants, they're cloning them.
That's
though
what
they're
it looks
not.
more like. They're cloning, not
Yeah. They got these little purple booties on.
Just
these little
odd.
short pants. They're little purple short pants and their little booties.
Rather Hulk like colors. Green.
Oh yeah.
Shorts. The Hulk is green.
Yep.
Purple top. Well, his pants are purple. Yeah. So I guess similar printing processes. So.
Yeah. Purple and green are, according to Stanley, the colors of evil.
Okay.
That's if you notice those early Marvel comics, with the exception of the Hulk, because the Hulk was, a good guy or a bad guy.
Well, yeah, he's a bad guy,
Yeah,
so
all the good guys were red and blue, and all the bad guys purple and green.
Yep. Which, yeah, you don't necessarily notice as you read, but once somebody points it out, it's like, oh,
yep.
Yeah, they all do it. Yeah.
Yep. We got giants destroying trains and destroying. This one giant is just ripping trees out of the ground. He's just destroying the woods.
Not only destroying trains, but laughing as they fall off the tracks into the river. He's doubly
gut-busting laugh. He's literally holding onto his stomach.
And then he quickly follows up by slamming the top of the train in the water to make sure that it's completely submerged. So this particular giant is evil. He's bad for sure.
He just that sequence. It's just a great sequence because the first panel is just the train motoring along on the tracks,
right?
And then the second panel, suddenly the giant has just run onto the scene and kicks the bridge. Just destroys the bridge where the train is going to come, and then laughs as the train falls into the water. And then, slams a fist on top of the train just in case.
And it even says a pounding fist makes sure the destruction is complete. So that's the narration. So it's like, dude, but yeah, like you said, then the next giant, we can kind of think that it's the same one, although I would kind of guess it's just another one somewhere else because we find out there are multiple. Oh no, it says another giant. I'm sorry.
Yeah, elsewhere another giant.
But yeah, he's just going through ripping up the forest.
Yep.
That is bad nowadays. We look down on those countries that just allow their forests to be felled, but here it was so fresh and new that they could just write about bad guys just going through and tearing up swaths of forest land.
You're right, though. We do look down upon other countries that allow their giants to go around and pull trees out of the ground.
Yes. You need to do something. They need to control their giants better. But here,
and look at the caption of that panel. Look how they spell the word "through."
THRU.
Crash. Yeah, THRU.
THRU. Yeah.
I'm assuming. Well, I want to say that they did that because of limits in regard to space, but there's definitely enough room there for them to have spelled that correctly.
I also thought that this story, probably more than either of the other two, the art struck me as a lot sketchier.
Yes.
And to me, what I'm trying to relay by using the word sketchy is like you go to a convention, and while you're standing there talking to the artist, they pop out a $15 sketch of you in mere moments while you're sitting there talking. Sketchy kind of. Just the whole story, and even the coloring of it in a lot of panels just exacerbated. So I don't know if there was no inking done on these and they just colored in the pencils, but it has a very sketchy look to it throughout, I thought.
It does have a very rushed look in certain panels. That's a good point about the inking, because a lot of these panels where you would see the shadows filled in with just a solid black ink, it's more like they just took the ink pen and scribbled really quick, like a kid would, to fill in a part of the drawing, but didn't really have the patience to fully fill it in. They just scribbled really quick and then moved on.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, not sure. We also have some yelling, I think, for the first time, with very big font in the actual panels, not the narration, but
Yes.
the panels themselves. Very thick black typeset that was used. And I believe at this time everything was still done by hand.
Yeah.
So this is like either they're using a really thick pen or they have drawn it in and then colored it in with black ink to make it the lettering so large in those panels.
And look at the giant's hand there.
With the gnarly
at,
nails?
yeah, the gnarly nails, and it looks almost like fur coming off the back, the way they draw the line.
Yeah.
And a couple pages earlier, we see a pair of giant hands busting into that house to kidnap the governor and his daughter.
Uh-huh.
And that same thing, long nails and hair. The backs of the hands are really hairy.
I guess to denote monster, even though they're just supposed to be enlarged human beings.
Yeah. So maybe they're saying this was a normal human being. We made them giant, and that not only altered their body chemistry, it turned them monstrous. So that's why they're out there destroying trains and pulling up trees.
These are like the giants of Dr. Moreau or something like that.
Yeah. And Superman breaks one of their toes. This was just a weird story. I'm looking at this page here where Superman breaks one of the giant's toes, and we see, like, the very last panel on that page, Superman standing atop a cliff. We see a pair of giant hands reaching up for him, and then we see 1, 2, 3, 4 giants running at him from a distance, while the professor is on the speaker yelling, "Get him! Get him! Get him!" It's just weird. It's just bordering on creepy in some of these panels.
Yeah, for sure. And I would think that must the result that is the result, I should say, of the fact that it's Paul Cassidy drawing, because Jerry Siegel we have seen for most, if not all, the stories, and his stories don't write like this. They don't feel like this. So I wonder if it was very and you're starting to nitpick here. Maybe the story wasn't written by Siegel, but it was plotted by Siegel, and then he turned it over to Cassidy.
Yep. Yeah, maybe.
And he just visually interpreted it however, because it's just, it does have this almost, you could, if you took Superman out and just put a regular person in the story, this would be a story out of one of the horror anthology books of the time.
Yep. Yeah, agreed.
And it would be easy to do it. You would just have this all turn out that this dude, was having some kind of fever dream because he was, I don't know, a missionary in Africa, and he got dengue, or he got sleeping sickness or something, and that way you could explain how in the story a regular man was doing some, more than regular stuff. But yeah, it just has this very, very different feel everywhere. Just yeah,
it's like the Marvel method. It very much feels like that. Like Jerry Siegel just gave him a page and said, I want this to happen, do it. And then he went out and just grabbed a big bunch of stuff out of a bucket and threw it at the pages, and boom, this is what we get.
I don't know, he had just read some pulp prose anthology magazine the day before he got the assignment, and all of this stuff was in his head, and he put it all on here. Yeah.
It's just so weird. They create the giants, they go out and they start wreaking havoc among the public, and they steal money, and then they go up to the Arctic and build giant homes, and then they kidnap the governor and the governor's daughter, and Lois is involved somehow, and then Superman gets up there to the Arctic and he fights some giants, and uh, I don't know that I have the energy to really go through and talk about everything that happened in this story, because there's so much.
Yep, and it's nonstop.
It's one of these stories that, it's like I'll be like 3 pages into it, and then I'll go, oh, what happened at the very beginning? I feel like I should have to turn like 12 pages to get to the beginning of the story, and I realize, oh, that's only 3 pages to the beginning of the story.
Just a couple to the beginning, yeah.
And of course, Professor Z is not bald, but Dr. Curtis is bald.
Curtis, yeah. I didn't understand what happened to him that got him buried in the glacier. That didn't make sense to me, because the water came after. So he's like fighting the giants, and he causes an avalanche of the glacier.
Yeah.
And he gets caught with the giants as the glacier falls in on him. But Superman gets trapped. It's drawn like he's underwater, but he's trapped in ice. Like all of this stuff fell, and it's not rubble. It fell and formed a glacier in the valley between glaciers, I guess. And the one panel makes it look like he's underwater, but then a little bit later on, there's another panel that makes it look like underwater, and then the next, he's cracking the glacier and then jumping out of the crack in the glacier, and it's like, well, it was just all rubble. It wouldn't have sealed over, and so.
Yeah, and that could have been a very cool scene. It could have been very high tension if they had done it right. Because, yeah, you're right. He drops a glacier on the giants as he's jumping away. One of them reaches out and grabs him and pulls him down with him. But for some reason, all this ice and snow, it's like it just instantly melts and turns into water and then freezes up again all around him.
Yeah, and the narrator tells us the ice hardens remorselessly upon Superman's figure. And it's like, but why? I mean, it's just big chunks of rock and ice, and it would just be rubble. It'd be like a cave-in more than it would.
Exactly, yeah.
Freezing, I don't know.
But it's easier for the artist to draw it this way. And if it was done, like you suggested, that you just provided him with a loose plot and told him to go and draw that, maybe that's what he intended. He intended for him to just be kind of underwater. And Jerry Siegel's like, well, why is he having such a hard time getting up out of the water? All right, I'll script it. I'll add the text to make it say it's ice, even though
it's frozen. It's just adds to the oddness over all of the story.
And the whole thing with Professor Z making it look as if he turned Lois and the governor's daughter into giants, but he tricked them by using a big magnifying glass wall. Well, what's the point of all that? I don't understand why any of this happened in this book.
That aspect of the plot, the motivation, it is a little bit thin. Yeah. I don't know if there was a page that got left out, or even just one panel that would have given us, a little bit more of a clue there. But yeah, it's just like, well, we've been trying to invent something to make large biological creatures. Okay, we got it. So we need to test it on something. So they tested on animals. Okay, now we need proof of concept. We need to do it on human. So they did it on a human, and another, and another, and another, and they made a band of them. Okay. To then do what? At this point right here,
Yeah.
why did you make more than one? And set them loose? Well, like, it would have been kind of hard to contain them, I understand. So, but it's like, so you just kept making them, or yeah, it
Yeah,
just,
it's like they make the first one. The first one goes out and starts destroying stuff, and like, ooh, that was a mistake. Let's try again. I think I've got it figured out. And so they create a second one. It goes out and starts destroying stuff. Let's
no,
try it
that's,
again.
yeah,
And they keep
yeah.
trying and they keep messing up. And well, let's do a cat. Let's just try a cat this time. And eventually they're just like, all right, we obviously messed up. This was a mistake. Let's just roll with it and become bad guys and just revel. I mean, we've already got a lab in the Arctic with magnifying glass doors
There you go.
and
Yeah.
giant PA loudspeaker system and some kind of weird plexiglass wall outside that Superman can't get through.
Yeah, that put up a fight for Superman even. Yeah, it was so.
Transparent elastic walls. Ugh.
Yeah, this has, Billy, if you're there, this has a very Haney kind of feel to it because it's just anything, and it just really doesn't make sense in the way that it's put together here. It just, yeah.
This could very well be the story that Bob Haney was sitting around one day before he became who he was. It's like, all right, I got to do a bunch of, I got to make some money making some comics. How do I do this? And he comes across this issue and he goes, well, they did some crazy stuff back then. I'll just do that. I'll just
Yeah, I'll do it like
reach into
this.
my bucket of ideas and throw them at the wall. And there you go. Here's a story.
Just, yeah, weird. Like Johnny once said, weird, wacky stuff. Or that was
Wow,
actually
that was
wasn't
terrible.
Johnny. That was Dana Carvey doing Johnny.
Yeah.
Sorry. That was my Dana Carvey impression. Weird, wild, wacky stuff.
Weird. Yes,
So,
sir.
yeah, there you go, Ed. That was your Ed, or that was your um,
Phil
Phil
Hartman.
Hartman
Dude,
doing Ed.
big man. Yeah.
Yeah, it's, yeah. If I was Dana Carvey doing, yeah, so it's there we go.
And then I guess Dr. Z meets his fate when one of the giants accidentally steps on him and crushes him.
Yep.
And
In
he
all
goes,
of their
yeah.
trying to get Superman, or no, they're running away. I guess what they're doing, running
Yeah.
away from the water cascading through the canyons, sure to kill them if they don't escape it, which ultimately they don't. So,
But it's okay. So, all right, Superman releases because it's a half extinct volcano. That's right. That's where they're in a half extinct volcano, and Superman basically allows the lava loose, which then melts the glacier, and all the water comes rushing at
right.
them. And the giants are like, "We're getting the hell out of here!" And steps on one of the scientists, and I was really confused at first here at the end when Superman finds the two ladies, and he's like, "Why, you're both of normal size." But then he's the one that tells the governor, "Well, it's because of it was an illusion. I figured that out,
Yeah,
Why didn't you?"
Superman sussed it out and just didn't tell us.
Yeah. And then the final panel, Lois and Clark. Clark says, "So you've scored another great scoop. How do you do it?" She says, "I attribute it to my superb qualifications as a reporter and 99% to the assistance of Superman." Wah, wah, wah.
Well, yeah, and so at least there she wasn't taking all the credit.
That's right. She was being honest.
Yep.
I don't know that I have the energy to say anything else about this crazy freaking story. Billy D says, "How dare you besmirch the name of Bob
come
Haney?"
on.
Billy D, for those who don't know, is the host of the Brave and the Bob podcast, which is all about Bob Haney and the crazy stories that he put together in the Silver Age.
This is a story in the mold of a pseudo pre-Haney kind of zaniness. Although Haney's zany was a lot more controlled than this was.
Yeah.
This was just had a very frantic, out of control, do whatever you want almost feel to it.
Yeah. Yeah. It really is like it's not like it's a crap ton of different concepts that we have seen in some of these Superman stories where they just try to cram in all these different concepts in one story. It's really, it's giants, destruction, mad scientists. We just don't understand why they're doing what they're doing.
Why?
Other than it's just because of being evil. But it's like they took those concepts, wrote it all down on a sheet of paper, ripped the paper up into a bunch of pieces, and then tried to glue them back together the way they were supposed to be. And this is the finished product. Finished product. That's the word I'm looking for.
Okay.
But yeah, I'll say that this is of the three we're looking at tonight. So last episode was my least favorite of the three. This probably is number 2, but is the most insane of the three.
Yes, definitely.
But that's all I have to say about that.
All right, Forrest. Folks, we appreciate you being here and want to thank you for listening. So until next week, I'm Ed, and that's Forrest. Steeven, this was the Superman Super Show. Adios.
Bye-bye, Jenny.
Jenny. Bye, Jenny.
Jenny and I were like peas and carrots. My favorite, two of my favorite Forrest Gump lines to do from that movie is when he says something about, I don't know what she was afraid of, but it must have been her grandmama's dog. He was a mean dog. And then, you ever been on a real shrimp boat? No, but I've been on a real big boat. When I was a supervisor, where I work now, when I was a supervisor, I used to try to get one of the guys on my team during team meetings. At least one meeting, when I say, are there any questions? Because we used to do Forrest Gump back and forth. I said, the next meeting, when I'm done with giving my presentation, I say, are there any questions? I want you to go, yeah, you ever been on a real shrimp boat? And then I'll say, no, but I've been on a real big boat. But he would never do it.
Chicken.
Yeah. This is the guy. This guy took another employee, something off another employee's desk and put it in Jell-O because he saw them do it in the office. I used to bring a little cooler, like a little mini igloo cooler to work with me every day that had a sandwich in it. And he sat right next to me. And so my cooler was right behind me. And one day lunch comes around and I go and I grab the cooler and I open it up and my sandwich isn't there. Instead, there's a plastic bag with a napkin in it. And he had written on the napkin, "This is not a sandwich." It was just so stupid. It's like, I don't need you to write on the napkin that it's not a sandwich for me to understand that it's not a sandwich.
He just wanted to make sure, dog.
Yeah, he was fun. All right, I'm ready for the last one.
Yep. Got the record going here.
All right. You're listening to the Superman Super Show, episode number 62, The Fifth Column. Hello and welcome to the Superman Super Show. I'm a host. My name is Steeven. And 1,000 miles over there to my right is another host, Mr. Ed Moore.
Howdy, y'all.
Now, I know you have a specific topic for banter in this episode. Is that correct?
How about Jack Ryan, who no longer is working for the government, sitting in front of that group of congressmen, given the congressman or the senator from Texas what the heck for?
So good. So good. I watched those 2 episodes this weekend. No, sir, you are the one,
Oh
so
man.
good.
Yeah,
Oh,
that
but
was
the if we spoil, we spoil. I don't care. But the moment when he's being tortured
mhm.
and they rip the shirt off his back and they dump the boiling water on his back. Instantly, I'm like, oh my God, I could just feel it.
No,
And then she
that's
says, that it's not as painful as the salt. And he says, what? And they dump all that salt on that newly burned back. Oh my God. I was like,
yeah,
oh, Pam is going to be so upset at what they're doing to Jim.
that was oh my goodness. Yeah. Good.
It was good though. Those 2 episodes were great.
Yeah. Yeah, excellent way
And
to tie everything up for that
yeah,
series.
and Domingo Chavez, the way he gets into that building and is
Yep.
just suddenly there behind that woman. Oh, so good, so good,
He is the man that you want in the field with you for sure.
very
For
much. Yeah,
sure. Yeah.
yeah,
You know, earlier in the series, it was the other dude that he brought in, you know,
yep.
but no, Chavez, it's like, no, no, that's the man right there.
Well, I think the last time we talked about this, which may be the lost episode that we haven't put up yet because we that just crapped
Because
out
it's
all around
lost.
us.
So
It is.
that's
It's lost.
yeah.
Um, I had talked about there was a character in the books by the name of John Clark,
Hmm.
who was your wet works guy basically, and
Right. Yeah.
then they introduced Domingo Chavez, and the two of them kind of become partners. And then he writes this book called Rainbow Six that they're both in, and blah blah blah. And I kind of realized as this season was wrapping up that I feel like if they were to continue, which sounds like they're not, but they could still do a spinoff. I feel like Mike November, which is a great name,
Yep.
he is their John Clark because they did a John Clark movie on Prime with Michael B. Jordan. Have you seen that?
No, I don't think so. I think I know the movie you're talking about, but no, we haven't seen it.
But that's if you watch that movie, that's who that is. That's in the Jack Ryan universe, and John
Okay.
Clark is he's supposed to be older, of course, than Jack Ryan. At least he
Right.
was in the books that I recall. He's played by Willem Dafoe in which movie was that? It was the second Harrison Ford movie, Clear and Present Danger.
Okay.
Willem Dafoe.
But yeah, that was just
So
excellent,
good.
excellent series.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
Terry and I have been fortunate to have watched all 4 seasons, and so
Yep.
yeah, that's really had a good time with that one.
Yeah. Really sad to see it go. I wish they'd do more, but it's one of those where would you rather them do another season and have it suck, or just
And
end it on a high
you know,
note and just be glad that you've got 4 good seasons to watch?
the scary thing is they turn it over to somebody else and they turn it into their fever dream fanfic of what a
Yep.
superhero intelligent agent is. It's like, no, don't do that, please.
So I'm assuming then, since you guys watch Jack Ryan, you have Amazon Prime.
Mhm.
Have you watched Jack Reacher?
Yes. And we are very much looking forward to the next season
Yep.
of that.
It
Wow.
kind of dawned on me the other day. Jack Reacher is the modern day Conan the Barbarian.
Okay.
Because
I could see that.
I mean, I don't know that Conan has the same kind of moral code that Jack Reacher does, but
Right.
Reacher, they both have that kind of I don't give a fuck attitude. You get in my face and I'm going to break one of your
Yep.
bones at some point,
And
which I,
it's my understanding that this actor for the TV series is much more the novel physique
oh yeah.
than itty bitty Tom Cruise is. Although having a small man like that play Jack Reacher is just as impressive in its own way. But
Yeah,
yeah, this
I've read the first 6 or 7 books in the series. Yeah, he's described physically as like 6'5", two hundred and
yeah,
fifty pounds or something like that, built like a brick shit house,
yeah,
and I
that's not Tom
remember
Cruise.
no, not at all. And I remember when that movie was being made and they announced that it was Tom Cruise, the author, Lee Child, of course he had to come out in support of it.
Right.
But he basically used the excuse of, well, Jack Reacher is a force of nature, and Tom Cruise can do that.
Yes, he
So,
can.
yeah,
In his own way,
yeah,
minus the stature, he had all the attitude that had to be there. So,
yeah. But the guy in the TV show is way more. I mean, I've seen the movie. I'm not a Tom Cruise guy. Never have been. I've yet to see anything by Tom Cruise in the last, maybe since that Reacher. I just have no desire to ever see anything Tom Cruise is in ever again. So maybe I'm biased when I say the guy in the TV show is better.
yeah, it sounds
But
like that's possible. Yeah.
the TV show is more like the books. And the perfect example of that is that scene in the prison where the guys come into the jail cell and they're like, "Why don't you give me them shoes and give me them glasses?" And he just comes down off the bunk and he's, this is what you're gonna do,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I'm gonna break the, he's the character in the book was very much like that. It's like, if I'm gonna hit you, I'm not gonna stop until you're not getting up off the ground. It's not gonna be one of these pop there, I win. It's going to be,
Yeah.
bones are going to be broken.
Yep.
I'm not just going to hit you. I'm going to disable you, and I'm going to incapacitate you so you can't do anything.
Which absolutely would be real life. I'm going
Yes.
to make sure that you do not get back up. That's how
Yeah.
this goes. Yeah.
Like
But yeah, we very much like Jack Reacher.
the guys that come to mess with him outside his motel room, and he
Yes.
basically tells them that he's going to break 4 of their hands, but there's 5 of us. One of you is going to drive you to the hospital.
Yep.
That's good stuff.
Very much. We're a fan of that, which I guess in a way is unfortunate. But the ultra violence to the point that it makes you laugh. That it's like
Yes.
there
Yeah.
was Terry Ann, if you're still there, I can never remember the name of the show. The dude who got out of prison and was at a bar one night and took over the persona of a sheriff that he found dead and became the sheriff of a town. Um, he is the dude, the actor is the dude that plays the Superman pastiche hero in The Boys TV show.
Oh, okay, yeah. I haven't.
That
I know the guy you're talking about, but I
that
haven't
is the
watched it.
actor.
Okay.
And I believe the name of the show was the name of the town that he stepped into the role of the sheriff of. But he was that kind of take no nonsense, make sure they don't get up again actor or character, even to the point in one of the seasons later on, it was on about 5 seasons, but in one of the later seasons, he got mixed up in some stuff and was doing some illegal street fighting. And those episodes were some of the most brutal TV I have ever seen.
Yeah.
And we used to watch live MMA for a while. We enjoyed that. And it's like, no, MMA was nothing like what they did on those episodes where he was the street fighter. It was just, but we enjoyed it too. Yeah. So.
Well, it's characters like that there's a part of you that's like, you wish you could be that way.
Yeah,
to a certain
in a
extent,
way.
like, that you could just kind of handle stuff. You just know that regardless of who might step up to you, you're going to handle it, or just to be able to, like. And I'll go back to Jack Reacher when he is going into the diner and he sees the couple and the one guy's almost about to be abusive to the woman, and he just stares him down until the guy just finally apologizes and they leave. It's like, wow, I wish I could do that.
Banshee. That was the name of the TV show.
Okay.
Banshee. Banshee. And
what
his
was it
name
on?
was Lucas Hood. It was on a streaming network. Was it Cinemax, maybe. Yeah, it was on the Cinemax
Okay.
network from 2013 to 2016. So it was 4 seasons, 38 episodes. But
I'll look it up.
oh yeah, and I'm not going to tell you necessarily the premise of the show because that's part of the cool thing is having that story fleshed out over the course of the series. But it was different. You might recognize a couple of the other people that were in it as they went on from that to do other things. Very entertaining show, very violent. A lot of very physical violence. You know, not the we shoot at people, which there was a lot of that. But no, it was a lot of hand to hand camera in your face violence. So be ready for that.
Okay. All right, we gonna talk about fifth column.
Let's do it.
All right, so this is the second story to appear in Superman number 8. It's written by Jerry Siegel, penciled by Wayne Boring, and we have a credit for inks, Don
Commissaro, yeah.
Superman number 8 has a cover date of January/February 1941, but an on-sale date of November 10th, 1940. We got that information from Mike's Amazing World of Comics, and let me tell you what happened. Clark Kent is alerted by Frank Martin, an anti-espionage agent, to a fifth column organization. Superman smashes up the group and recovers a damaging document. When he tries to deliver it to Martin as Clark, he is framed for Martin's murder by Martin's partner, Jeff Carlton. Escaping from the police, Superman trails the subversives to Sagdorf, favorite name, a foreign army commander. Superman destroys the army's weapons but is fired upon. While Superman is unharmed, the entire opposing army is decimated, which they're using that term wrong, I believe, because decimated just means that a tenth of them were destroyed. And I think it destroyed all of them.
I think he got a few more than a tenth, yes.
Yeah. Returning home and seeking to clear his name, Clark forces a confession from Carlton. He also gathers further evidence which exonerates him of wrongdoing. Real quick, before I ask you what you thought of it, I feel like we can't go any further before we discuss real quick the lettering in this story, because it was dramatically different to the point that I was thrown out of the story numerous times. Just trying to figure out, is that the letter N or is it the letter K?
Yes.
And the R's were weird too.
It was much more almost ornate than what had previous. You know, it was not the Courier or the Times New Roman blocky. It was almost at times scripted, like it was.
Yep.
Very,
and like I said, different. The N's look so much like K's that just on this first page, Clark is using the word man, and my eyes immediately see Mac, M-A-K.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I found it hard to read at times because of that.
Yes.
Anyway, what you think of this one?
The smaller that you would have been trying to read this, the much more difficult that would have been.
Yeah.
I want to know why they didn't just come out and make these Germans.
I don't know. It's like they're tiptoeing around it for now.
I mean, okay. I'm not. Let's see. I have German. No, I'm not even going to say that. At this time, I think it would have been completely understandable why, in a story of this nature, the enemies of Superman would have been German.
Yeah.
It's just as likely, well, no, maybe not yet, but of course, a little bit later in World War II, let's give it another year from when this came out, it very well could have been Japanese people that were Superman's enemy, understandably at the time. Okay, that hasn't occurred yet. Like I said, I don't think 40, 41, 42. Yeah. So, but Germans, I mean, why could it not have been Germans with why not use a Nazi, patch on a shoulder, or I mean, make it more obvious, because what nationality is the name Sagdorf?
Right. I mean, according to the internet, World War II is going on at this point. America just hasn't gotten into the war yet. We're sitting it out right now. And I just assumed, even though, they never say it, I assume these guys were working for the Nazis. That's just simply because they were white, and the way they talk. There's not an accent, but the way their ideology feels very Nazi-like. They never say it for some reason, and maybe it's because there were a lot of people in America, of course, that were opposed to what was going on with the Nazis in Germany. And at the same time, there were also a lot of people in America that were like, we need to stay out of it. We need to worry about what's going on in America. We don't need to worry about what's going on over there. And, just like what would be going on right now, if, let's not get too political, but Ukraine, we've got a bunch of people in the United States going, we've got to do something about that. And then we've got the rest of the United States going, no, we need to stay out of it. This is not our fight. And that's exactly what was going on at this time. But then, of course, Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, and all of America was like, fuck that, let's kick some ass.
We kind of had no choice anymore.
Right. Yeah. But, I don't know why they didn't. But, Sagdorf, come on.
Yeah.
It's like, let's make the guy a Nazi, and let's give him a totally goofy name to
I just, it's like, you're walking right up to that line, it seems. And it's like, step over that puppy. I mean, we know what you're wanting to do. Just go ahead and do that. I don't get it.
Yeah, it makes me feel like, that, I don't know, like maybe they would have pissed some people off. I don't know.
Well, I don't know, and I don't say this. I say this if it is hurtful in any way, out of ignorance, not out of purposeful. But Siegel or Schuster, are they of German descent, and they didn't want to do that in essence to themselves?
Well,
I mean,
I don't know. They're
Germans
definitely
and Nazis are they're in my mind they're different. I don't ever mean or assume the same when I hear Nazi or I hear German.
Nazis were German, but not all Germans were Nazis.
Right.
And they may be of German descent. They're definitely Jewish, both of them.
Well, see, I know that they're Jewish, but I'm like, so I wonder if that played a part. There was some kind of personal. We don't want to implicate anything in that last step and saying, punching Hitler. Although, Kirby, Katzenberg, and Simon. Captain America punched Hitler there for a while, every other issue. I mean, it was...
Yeah. There's even a story that some Nazi sympathizers showed up at the Marvel offices to give Kirby and the crew what for daring to do that. And Kirby was like, all right, let's go. And went down onto the street and was ready to throw down with them.
Okay. That sounds like Jack Kirby.
Yeah. But I don't. It's like even though comics at this time weren't, I don't know if they were necessarily marketed towards kids. It makes me feel like some of the Marvel cartoons that came out in the, I don't know, maybe the 2000s. I know that there was like an Avengers or there was a Captain America cartoon, and instead of Nazis, they didn't have Nazis. They had Hydra, and they just didn't refer to them. It's like they didn't want to do that for some reason. I don't know why, but that's the same confusion I have with this. It's like I know they're Nazis, you know they're Nazis. Just say it.
Just say they're
But
Nazis.
we don't.
I mean,
Yeah, we don't know exactly what was going on at the time. What
yeah.
may have stopped them. It could have been an editorial decision. Could have been fear of reprisal from, American Nazi groups, of which there were plenty at the time.
Right. Yeah.
Who knows? Who knows?
But that's definitely what struck me is everything that I saw about the bad guys, just that's where it led me. That's what it made me think. But nobody ever said that, or so it's like, well, and maybe part of that is that I have seen this so many times, and then at the end it was labeled Nazi, that I just made that association. And maybe it's not really what they were doing. It is my bias. I'm forcing onto them by saying, "Oh, well, those are Nazis." Maybe at the time they never thought that they were portraying Nazis, and that's why they didn't do that.
We'll have to make note of this because I think it's very interesting because here we are. This is what November 1940 is what they said the on sale date was. Mm-hmm. World War II at this point, based on what I can find online, has been going on since September of 1939. So over a year now, we just aren't involved.
Right.
But we know by December of 1941, a year from this point, we will be, Pearl Harbor is going to be attacked. So I think it would be interesting to note at what point from this point, November of 1940, between now and December of 1941, when do they actually start calling them Nazis?
Portraying
Because you know it's coming. It's got to.
I mean, that's
Captain America wasn't the only book at the time that was punching Hitler.
No.
There comes a point when, and I'm sure it was after we get into the war, because at that point, American sentiment at that point was like, we're kicking everybody's ass. So it was okay at that point. I'm whatever that means, but
right, yeah. But
So
okay, but and I I'm not trying to my feelings and what I noticed, and that's what this is.
Oh no, it's really it's interesting. It's just a very interesting notion to, I'd like to know what was going on at the time. And it, like you said, it could just be nothing at all. It could just be I guess they were Nazis. Didn't even think about that.
Exactly. Yeah, it could be that, everything that we have read and even probably a lot of that even was stuff that we've read that was retconned that, they were Nazis. That even at the time, it's like, well, nobody even really said they were Nazis until later. And it's like, so,
and I looked up fifth column because I didn't know exactly what it meant. I just assumed based on this story that it had some association with Nazis.
Okay.
But the definition of fifth column, according to Wikipedia, take that as it is. A fifth column is any group of people who undermine a larger group or nation from within, usually in favor of an enemy group or another nation.
Okay.
So
it's
could be
a subversive.
Yeah. Could be Romanians. Could be
a country from Central or
Canadians.
South America. No, I don't think it'd be Canadians. They're too nice.
I don't know. That's a cover. It's a front.
Is that a cover? Well, they did give us poutine. Anybody that came up with poutine cannot be bad.
That's true. It's a good point.
But I am glad now that we're starting because I know that for a major portion of the Golden Age, World War II is a story point, and even after, it will continue to be a story point that is used for a year or two later because we're just not done with it yet. So I guess I'm kind of also wanting, I know that all of the DC heroes didn't necessarily get directly involved for reasons. But there have to be stories of those people coming to the U.S. to try to do things.
Yep.
And I guess I'm just waiting for those. Maybe that will ratchet up the bad guy quotient for Superman, because they will be evil scientists doing things, and their experiments with making Supermen, Supermensch, and so it's like, come on, let's get those stories going.
That is
and now
interesting. That
we have one, and it's like, no, they're not Nazis. They are Nazis. They are. So
that is interesting, though, considering that Superman, the term, comes from the idea of the the German idea of the
ideal man. Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny too, because maybe at some point we may get to the point where we're like, all right, enough with the World War II Nazi stuff. Let's get to
Can we move on? There are other things in the world that are bad besides Nazis. I mean, they're bad, but come on. Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, these guys, it's just, and all we really, for the most part, all they were trying to do is hand out propaganda.
Yeah.
But then, which of course, we know that there is nothing more insidious than an idea. Yep. That's the worst. But then they take Superman somewhere where these guys are basically coming from, and they have a base in the U.S. somewhere that is a little bit more materialistic than just propaganda. And so Superman gets to unload on them.
Yeah, the army out there in the mountains that Superman basically theorizes that the idea here is that whatever foreign nation, they still don't say it, they will attack from the coast, and then this army can come up from behind.
Right. Yeah.
But we have on this boat, we have them actually, it's not 100% clear because the one guy's hand is out of the panel, and then we see another guy's hand coming from the side of it, but they're obviously giving the Nazi salute. It's just not as clear.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. What does this say, about American intelligence, that this compound could have been created anywhere in the country in 1940, and we did not know?
Makes me think of some of the Montana militia.
Oh man.
Yeah, but that's like Cobra up there. They had a lot of material. They had tanks and junk and stuff. It's like,
everything that a large modern military would have.
Yeah. It's probably easier to believe that they could hide that in the 40s than now with all the satellites and whatnot. But
for
still,
sure, yeah.
Some hunter, there's probably a lot of hunters that never came back from hunting in that area, stumbled across this army.
They just disappeared. Yeah.
Yep.
But they've got planes, they've got tanks, they've got artillery, guns, they have anti-aircraft balloons, plenty of men. I just really, nobody knew about this. Superman was really the first one to stumble on it.
Yeah, it's a big operation, and the symbol is this weird plus sign.
Which is kind of like the,
Yeah. Now, back up just a moment here, because one of the things that we've seen from Superman a lot over all these issues is this way, I'm going to call it, even though it's physical, it's almost like psychological torture that he does with people. Like the when he would throw the guy up in the air and catch him, and do that over and over until the guy would confess. And in this case, when we've got all these dudes on the boat, Superman snatches the gun from the guy, shoots him, but then grabs the bullet again real quick before it hits him. It's like, come on, that is mean.
But and But it wasn't once, though, was it? Wasn't it like 4 or 5 times? 4 or 5 shots?
No, I don't think so, because he does it. Well, no, he does it the one time, and then he says, "Unless you quit your subversive activities, next time I won't bother to catch it." And then he leaves them to their own devices. That ought to throw a little scare and maybe a little sense into them. Now to go to my apartment.
Yeah, I'm trying to find that panel. I thought there were like multiple gun trails.
Maybe. It says, disregarding rivals' pleas, the man of tomorrow fires. We get a bang, but before the bullet can reach him, Superman's other hand darts out and catches it.
Yeah, okay. I guess it just was that once.
It's really weird seeing Superman, though, with a gun.
Yes, for sure.
When he shot at the dude, though, immediately I was shocked. I was like, holy shit, did they just have Superman shoot a bad guy in the chest?
In that panel, yes, that is definitely what it looks like.
But then when he reached out and caught the bullet, I think I was even more shocked at his, again, I'm going to call it psychological torture, because that would be like Batman hanging a guy off the edge of a building by his ankle.
Oh, he's never done that.
Well, Batman's a nice guy.
Yeah. He used to carry a gun. So,
yeah. Yes, he did.
It wouldn't be unusual in the golden age to see Batman with a gun.
Yeah. But yeah, so he gets this list, I guess, of other subversives in the country, and he goes to take it to his agent friend, but his agent friend has been shot by his assistant, who quickly throws the gun at Clark and runs out of the room, knowing that Clark will catch the gun.
Right,
just automatically.
Fingerprints on it. Yeah, here.
And then as soon as he catches the gun, all the police burst in. That's the guy that did it.
But isn't that the way it always happens, man? I mean, you know, it's like that's every TV show or movie. That's always the way. It's as soon as you do that one thing, that's when they see you, and you're like, oh, come on.
Yeah. And the
yeah,
timing is always perfect.
It's like he's got the gun. Search him and see what it's like. And of course, he's got the list on him because
list of all his allies, and the way he escapes is just to simply leap up to a steel girder above them so fast that the guys that he's standing in between don't even notice until they notice he's not there.
All they have to do is remotely look. I mean, they don't even have to try to look.
Well, what I'm assuming is they probably noticed the motion out of the corner of their eye. And we're like, what the? Holy crap, he's gone. You know? But then, where could he have gone? Look up. They're where'd he go? Well, I guess we'll go back to the precinct.
Guess he ran away.
Yeah. I'm still having a hard time with this text, man.
Looks like he's burning a hole in the roof there on that one panel too.
It
where
does.
He's using his X-ray vision. I'm like, oh, is he melting his? Oh no, that's X-ray vision. Oh, okay. The art for this one was nowhere near as sketchy. It seemed fuller and more filled out than the previous story.
Yes, very nice looking. And Sagdorf, I mean, that's Baron Strucker, right?
Yes.
From that guy who runs Hydra?
Absolutely it is. Yep.
Bald guy with a monocle. If that's not a Nazi leader, I don't know who is. That's standard evil Nazi leader uniform right there.
You know, and like you said, the epaulet on the collar is a Red Cross plus, but just it's
a white cross. Superman sneaks into the tent to get the evidence, and the guy comes to stab him with the bayonet. Superman, of course, grabs the gun out of his hand and wraps it around the guy so that the bayonet is sticking through the stock of the rifle.
Right. It's like the first locking body manacle or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing he could have done to ensure would have been to bend the bayonet so that it
Yep.
locks.
Yep.
Yeah. And how about the gentleman in the next panel running, yelling, "A spy, be merciless."
Be merciless. Yeah. That's great.
What? Be merciless. Okay.
It's like, just say, let's kill him, Be
It's like
merciless.
that's like Harvard level trash talk, or it's like it sounds all brainy or something. It's like, what are you doing?
It's the threat of an intellect. Be merciless. We're going to be merciless with you. The other guy,
Oh
though, I
man.
love the art, the way the other guy, the figure of him running.
Hmm. Yeah, but
It's
both of
almost,
those are very actiony
yeah,
poses.
yep. Superman, of course, knocks them both out, destroys a bunch of airplanes.
Destroys the
There's a lot of
hangar, destroys
destruction.
airplanes in there. Yeah, he just goes on a rampage through the camp now. He's
Yeah.
just essentially he's just destroying the camp just piece by piece as he's going through. Destroys generators that they use for, what's it say? Great dynamo, an electric plant. Doesn't say what they're using it for. You didn't even necessarily know that there was an electric plant on the site until
Yeah.
Superman was in the midst of it destroying it. But okay,
Yeah. It's like they just
maybe
needed
that's what they
something
used
heavy
for
for
their.
him to throw. Yeah.
They use that for their radar installation or something. I don't know.
Yeah. So this next page, I don't quite understand because he's leaping to the munitions plant, but then he says, a ticklish situation. If I attack the munitions works, I'm sure everyone in the neighborhood will be killed, but I can't allow that menace to the U.S. to exist, which makes me feel like what he's saying is if the munitions plant blows up, the explosion will be so bad that it will kill everybody in the surrounding neighborhood. Like there's a little
That's
town
the way I
next
took it
door or
also.
something.
Yeah, yeah.
And yet they fire, a big bullet, big shell at him, which misses him, and it strikes the munitions factory, which blows up, and still, but it turns out okay.
Yeah, I don't know what changed there.
Yeah, it's like if Superman would have destroyed it, it would have caused such an explosion that it would. But if a regular munitions shell destroyed it, that's okay. That's fine.
And what I'll say is maybe what they're trying to relate to us is the difference between an explosion of everything there or just an explosion that destroys what is being used to make everything there. Kind of
Yeah.
like
Okay.
the difference. It's my understanding with atomic weapons, there's almost like two explosions.
Yeah.
There's the one that sets off the other. And if you just have the one, it's just, an explosion. It's the second one that's the atomic explosion that they always
Yeah.
try to prevent. So sometimes you'll see in TV or movie, there's an explosion of an atomic device, but it's not the atomic device exploding. And so it's like,
Yeah.
well, but there was an
So it,
explosion. Yeah, but
yeah,
so
it might destroy the building or surrounding buildings, but
yeah,
it
but it
doesn't
wasn't
destroy
the
the entire city and there's no fallout, all
actual
that stuff.
detonation of the
Yeah.
atomic material. Yeah. So maybe they're playing now. That would take a lot of thought to
Yeah.
do that. Probably what happened is they just whatever they didn't realize what they say. I don't know, but you're right. It's like, well, you can't do it, or you don't want it to happen, but then it happens and it's okay. Yeah. Not to the extent of the previous story, but it's that same kind of lapse of a logical explanation that they just
Yep.
go right on past.
Yeah, very much. They like to do that. This happened, deal with it, let's move on.
Yeah, yeah. He destroyed it.
We're not, yeah. We're not going to explain it.
Nope.
Just deal with it. Clark gets back to Metropolis, and he catches the assistant guy rifling through some documents in a filing cabinet. And boy, when he just happens, well, I guess he does have X-ray vision. So he grabs a gun out of the desk drawer, and this guy looks like he snaps his spine, spinning.
He looks like the dude in the Iron Man suit from the first movie, where he's at that congressional hearing and they have all of this evidence, and he calls up what actually happened on his little, that.
Yeah. And then we have basically Clark doing what Superman would do, but in a way that only a normal human could. So instead of threatening to throw him into the sun, he threatens to shoot the guy if he doesn't confess. But we actually have Lois point out that it doesn't matter because a confession obtained under duress wouldn't hold up.
Right. It was coerced.
How many issues have we had where Superman has coerced a confession, and it's like somebody finally pointed out, by the way, you guys know that he can't do that.
Right. You
and
can't make them say things.
Yeah. So they're like, oh, well, we better address that in this issue then.
And maybe it's come up enough times in like letters from readers and stuff, and they're like, okay, we have to start doing it a little bit differently now.
Yeah. So basically the way they get around it is by saying, okay, yeah, he did force the guy to confess, but it allowed them to have enough time to then show all the other evidence.
Right.
That the confession doesn't really, they didn't need the confession. They had so much other evidence that that was all they needed, and it still took a couple of days to get Clark cleared of all the charges.
It probably did him good to sit in a pokey for a little while. Yeah, he didn't sit in a jail cell. No. He's out running around, made bail, the whole 9 yards.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah, most definitely. And that's how it ends.
And is that our fifth column story? Didn't they drop fifth column on us another time? Like once?
I don't recall.
Don't remember?
Yeah, I don't remember. Possibly.
This may be the first story. I'm thinking it happened once before, but that's just it. Just once or twice so far.
For those listeners who can actually remember all the stuff that Ed and I talk about each time, let us know, because it's amazing how, as a listener, you can remember a lot of that stuff, but as the person who doing the talking, you don't remember any of that crap.
Yeah, for me, talking, it just, so much of it just seems to run together. I can tell you, something happened, but when it happened or when related to something else that happened, I don't know. Was it this story or that one or Yeah.
And it's nice that Lois doesn't believe that Clark is a subversive, a fifth columnist, when she hears about the story. She's like, I won't believe it.
Well, she did see him being pretty damn manly, perp walking a dude at gunpoint into the office. That has got to finally be some of the points from Clark that she has been wanting to see all of this time.
Yep.
She didn't acknowledge it or say, but it's like, Lois, come on, this has got to be the kind of man you've been wanting.
Yeah. Yep. And this Carlton, whatever his name is, Carlton. I love how basically it's like Clark has him, it's like he brings him from across town or wherever they were the whole time at gunpoint, and then waits until they get into the office, and then he's like, all right, now that we got witnesses, confess or I'm going to blow your head off.
Yep.
And the guy, of course, at first is like, yeah, I don't believe you'll do it. And so all he has to do is start counting. 1, 2, all right, I'll confess.
I guess it was a stern count.
Right, yeah. I assumed that, Clark was going to do something really fast, like some kind of Superman trick that nobody could see because he did it so fast.
Catch the bullet again.
No. Yeah,
He
it's just
he
all
could have done it at such an angle that he was able to reach out and snag it again, and
and say, "Oh, I missed you with that one, but the next one will get you."
Yep.
But no, Clark handles it all his own without any super, which is funny because there's a moment. Yeah, but before he goes into this office to find Carlton, he's up on the roof, changing into his regular civilian clothes, and he says, "No more super strength today. From now on, I got to rely on my wits." And by rely on his wits, it means threatening to shoot a guy dead.
Get him to do everything I want at gunpoint rather
Yeah,
than threatening to tie him in a knot like a pretzel.
yeah. So yeah, it didn't really take a lot of brain power to work out that plan, Clark.
Yeah.
In fact, I would even say that Clark's plan is a bit less creative than some of the stuff he comes up with as Superman.
This is true. Yeah.
I love this cab driver. We get this nice shot of Clark and this guy in the back of a cab, and the cab driver doesn't seem to care. He's just
I guess Clark doesn't have the gun out.
probably not. Yeah. But the cab driver has his hat almost at a little angle.
You can
they
see the
wore him
fare
back
is
then.
up to 76 cents already too.
Whoa. Well, Clark is a big spender.
He does have those millions from his oil well investment,
which is why he didn't spend any time in jail.
Okay, we know
he's got that
with
status
enough money.
And the money.
With enough money, yep.
All right. Anything else you want to say about this one?
I liked it. I enjoyed it.
I did too. My favorite of the three we talked about tonight.
The story, but there's a part of me that really liked the art from the middle story because it was so different from everything else that we've seen. But as far as the whole, as the story elements itself, I enjoyed this one the best.
The art in the last one with the giants was very reminiscent of the first few Action comic stories that they had to reformat from the strips that they had tried to sell. And because like you said in the last episode, it had kind of this sketchy quality to it. To me, it almost added to the confusion of what was going on in that story. I've always, it's really weird. Depending on how the art correlates with the story, there are times when I do enjoy a really sketchy look to a book.
There
are other times I appreciate the clean lines here in this one.
Art is just as important as telling the story as any words that are there, depending on the type of story that you're trying to tell. Certainly, yeah.
All right, then. Ready to wrap it up?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you guys for joining us for this one. 5th column episode. Till next week, I'm Steven. That's Ed. And this was the Superman Super Show. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Let's save this one. So I haven't talked to any of them yet. But at some point tonight or tomorrow, I'm going to see how the rest of, if you're up to it, how the rest of the family might feel about us doing this again next Tuesday.
Okay.
I mean, with us losing so much ground because of my flake out, it'd be nice if I could find some time to get us, oh, my earbuds are about to die.
Oh.
Let me take these out. Let me switch over to the
Beep, beep.
There, I should be on the iPhone mic now.
It is.
That means everybody stop talking smack on my family.
Oh.
Yeah, I would like to see. I would like to try to get far enough ahead that we'll see. We'll see. I don't think any of them are going to care. But
I was thinking earlier today, whatever happened to Madman? You haven't talked about him lately.
No, yeah, I haven't done just another fanboy episode in months. I just
recorded under another title or something. I mean, it,
Yeah, I need to get back to it. There's so many different things that I want to do. I'm really happy that I'm able to get Conan episodes out as often as I can right now.
Okay.
Yeah. So I have another Steeven or Else episode ready to record. I haven't recorded it yet, and I am almost done writing up the notes for the next Conan episode to hopefully record this week and have out by Friday. So
have it out by Friday. Okay. I guess I need to hurry up and read the book so that I can leave you some feedback on it. I listened to the episode today, but I haven't read the comic yet.
Yeah.
The reason I ask about Madman is because I know that you're a fan of the book, and you haven't been talking about it.
Yeah, I know. I every once in a while when I open up my Comixology app and look at the library, I'm like, look at all those Madman comics I still need to read and talk about.
Okay. Yeah. No pressure.
Yeah.
Read and talk about whatever. Yeah. That's absolutely cool.
The next episode of Steeven or Else will be talking about Spawn issue number 1.
Okay.
And then, Conan issue 9. And the new Conan comic comes out next week.
Yeah, I haven't said anything. I don't think I've voted in anything, but I think talk about them as they come out.
Yeah, I when I recorded episode 8, of course, I just had the 2 votes, and so I was like, one way and one the other way. I'll do them on another podcast. But since I released episode 8, you're now my second additional vote.
Okay.
To do them on the show as they come out. So I think I'm just going to do that.
Well, and because it's not necessarily often that you, as a podcaster, will pick a topic that you can stay current with something.
Yep.
So, I think, if you have a topic that you're able to do that, then go ahead and do it, because it won't be any more, it won't be any different 10 years from now than what you're doing now. So, I mean, it's not going to listen any differently. It's like, well, yeah. And you have the opportunity to do it fresh at the same time everybody else is doing it. Go ahead then.
Yeah. And I think, whereas when I'm talking about one of these old Marvel issues, I put together a lot of notes. I spend a lot of time writing those up. But I think with the new ones, I'm literally going to read it. And then the first opportunity I have to sit down and talk about it, I'm not going to make any notes. I'll just put the comic in front of me and just start talking about it.
Yeah.
Because I've done episodes like that before and they turn out fine. Sometimes I psych myself out, get nervous when I don't have any notes, but
you don't need notes. You are talking about the book that you have right there. Just talk about the book,
Yeah, I'm not live. I'm not in front of a live studio audience. If I need to take 10 minutes to think about what I'm going to say, I can do that.
Yep.
I've done it so many times before. I don't know.
Yep. I'll get into that. It's like, something will pop into my head that I absolutely did not plan for. Pause. Okay, I'm ready to go. Unpause. And, yeah.
So over on Newsprint Commando, I see you're in the
Aracel. I'm not really ever sure how you pronounce that. Do you plan on getting into the Elf Lord books at all?
I hadn't thought about it either way. The only thing with Commando that I know I'm going to do is I'm going to keep talking about Pacific Comics until I've talked about all of them.
Yeah.
I do have that plan. In next year, because I pretty much have the rest of this year planned out. Next year, I haven't decided if every episode is going to be Pacific Comics and that's all I'm going to talk about, or if I'm going to branch out and talk about other books at the same time, like I have the first 2 years. I haven't decided, but I have most of the Elf Lord and some other books too. Ninja.
What's that called?
A lot of there for a while. I just went on this big Barry Blair kick. He there's just something about him as a creator that's just always fascinated me.
Yeah.
I have a lot of his stuff. Not all of it necessarily can be talked about in, not non-adulty kind of way. So I don't know that I would ever do anything, but.
Yeah. All right. It's funny too. You mentioned Madman because I don't know if you can see that, but that's my.
Yep.
It's my background on my computer. Okay. And then it's like I want to talk about the new universe. I'm just really happy with myself that I read an entire epic collection of Hulk comics without once thinking, how am I going to talk about this?
Right?
In an episode?
I need to get this on a show. Like, nope. I just read it because I wanted to.
Yep. Now I'm reading a Captain America epic collection, and then I think I'll move on to the first. I have the remember the Danny Ketch Ghost Rider books from the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
I got the first volume, first 12 issues. Well, I actually have 2 volumes. I think the first 24 issues of that run.
Okay.
And that got me thinking of Midnight Suns. Do you remember those books?
Yep.
With like I think it was one of the Kubert brothers on the art.
Yep.
Like some reason I just went, oh man, because I don't remember liking those books too much back then, but for some reason I got to thinking about them today, and I just went, I really want to read those again because there's something about them that I just find suddenly appealing.
Yep, it would read completely different now than it did for you then. Yeah, for sure. Yep. Also, I'm sure there's going to be a huge batch of Micronauts and ROM podcasts come out when those collected editions finally drop.
Yeah.
So, if you had any plans of covering that, there'll be enough coverage.
Yeah.
that one's taken care of.
I'll definitely read them. So hopefully we'll get some good podcasts and I'll have something to listen to while I'm reading them.
Hopefully. I was listening to one today. I forget the banner for the shows, but dude does the show that I listened to today was a Hulk show. Hulk Smash, maybe the name of it. I forget. But one of them is of the host is really big into horror books, and he tried starting up a trauma-based podcast talking about movies and comics and everything like that. But he and the co-host that he had just couldn't get on a set schedule, so they dropped it. So now they were just talking today about definitely they were going to do a Micronauts show because it's the first collected that's coming out. But they also mentioned that they had been talking about, but they weren't sure about doing ROM when that one drops later in the year. So.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about us podcasters. It's like, I not only want to read these books, I'm going to do a podcast about them at the same time.
Talk about them. Yeah. Yep. I guess that's one of the things that leads to doing a podcast to begin with is the desire to do that. So it's, And you're right. I see stuff all the time that I want to read, And that's the easy part. The tough part is deciding, do I just want to read or do I want to read and do a show? Well, I've got so many shows now, and should I hold off reading until I have time for another show, or should I?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's when you're just like, at some point you're just like, man, I'm just not going to read anything.
Yeah, really.
If I'm going to wait to talk about it on a podcast.
You get podcast vapor lock, and you just don't do anything. You're just like, ah.
Yeah, it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to get out of those sometimes.
Yeah, the only thing that I don't want to read and talk about are a lot of contemporary comics, because those are talked to death right now. Everybody talks about the new hotness.
Oh, yeah.
So when I read, staying up to date on stuff, I have no desire to podcast about it. But when I sit and talk, think about like the fact that I just saw that here before the end of the week, on the 20th, I think, a Kickstarter is dropping for a collected Poison Elves edition. I'm like, there is not a Poison Elves show out there right now.
That's a book I never read. I'd see it on the shelves all the time, and immediately I would be interested in it, just simply because of ElfQuest.
Right.
And I remember I'd every once in a while I'd go, and I'd look at it, and it doesn't look like ElfQuest, and I'd just put it back.
Yep.
So I never read it.
It starts out with a very fascinating story about the fact that originally it was called I, Lucifer, and he put out, I don't know, 6-8 issues until the publisher is like, dog, you have got to change the name of that book. And so he started it over with Poison Elves.
Yeah, that's funny. Well, there you go.
No, I can't do another show. I'd like to. I wouldn't mind a co-host maybe if somebody was doing something, but yeah. Trying to carry 4 shows of my own, and I think one of those is already probably dropped off for the final time. So.
Oh yeah, which one? What's that one?
The Thorcast.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, my host, I think, without saying so, just isn't interested really in podcasting, so I don't want to.
Yeah. How many episodes? How many episodes do you guys do that?
Over
it's a number. Yeah, it's a number of episodes, right?
Yeah, over 100.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that's
I gotta live with her. I don't want to push that. So.
Right. Yeah. Yep. I get that. Yeah. Yeah, that's another book I have. The Walt Simonson Thor collections that I'm. Just got to read them and stop worrying about whether or not I could make a show.
Yeah, just read them to read them, so that you know what everybody else is talking about. Oh, this is the greatest thing. Well, I have no idea because I've not read it. Yeah. Just read it, and you get done and put it down. You've read it, and move on to something else.
Yeah. And if 3 years from now it's like, all right, I have time to do a show about it, I can read it again. That's the wonderful thing about comics.
Yep. That's it, man.
That's what always cracks me up about people who get angry about something that might happen in a movie or something, and you ruined my childhood. And it's like, unless that creator came to your house and burned all of those comics or destroyed your copies of Star Wars and all the other, no, they didn't destroy your childhood. They're just doing something that you don't like.
There's a podcast, not a podcaster. There's a person on Twitter who has chosen to focus on a particular hero, and everything that they do on Twitter, the avatar, the name of the Twitter, all of it is this character. And they are very disillusioned with the fact that this character seldom shows up on movies or TV, and when they do, they don't do it right, and they really haven't had a consistent title even for a long time, and they're very disillusioned about all that. So much so that they made the comment about wanting certain stories about this character to be represented exactly like it happened in the book, in the movies. And myself and another podcaster made comments along the lines of, well, we kind of like them doing something different in movies because we have the comic book that we can read if that's the portrayal we want. And the final comment was, well, I'm glad you guys are getting what you want. It's like, okay.
Well, you can't always get what you want.
And trying to, it's what I think is funny is before the movie, whatever the movie is, the lists that all of the comic book sites put up of the pivotal books you have to read to understand this. I'm like, dog, that movie is not going to have hardly anything to do with
No.
the comic book, right?
Yeah.
So you're telling people to read this bunch of stuff that you like that isn't going to tie into the movie at all, or vice versa. Oh, I just saw this movie. What should I? Nothing. Don't read anything because it's not going to be like that movie at
Yep.
all.
Yeah.
So, if you want to read something about the character, just pick something up and read it. But it's not going to be that, or vice versa. So don't go into either end thinking the other. It's maybe way back when we first started seeing movies, we thought, well, yeah, we're going to get, but quickly you find out that no, that's not what they could. I don't understand why they don't, but they don't. They give it to somebody and they're like, oh, name of person, and that's the only connection there is. Otherwise, everything that's like,
yeah. And I think for some people, some of those lists are less. If you don't read these comics, you're not going to know enough about the character to understand this movie, which we all know is bullshit.
right.
But I think for some people, it's like, they may have Easter eggs that could reference any one of these 300 stories. So if you want to catch all those Easter eggs,
yeah, this much of the story, it's just, it's just not even, particularly people that are not involved in it at all. You're not doing them a service by doing stuff like that. It just doesn't work.
There are YouTube videos for that kind of stuff. There's a channel called Screen Crush. Whenever I watch, for example, a new episode of The Mandalorian, I then go to Screen Crush and watch their episode. Here's all the Easter eggs and things you might have missed from this episode to see if they're, because those are fun. It's like, okay, yeah, I remember that from this. And he does that with, like Secret Invasion right now.
Oh, yeah.
Every time a new episode of Secret Invasion comes up, I watch it and then I go to this guy's website and he talks about various things that may have come out of other books and whatnot that I never knew, but it's fun to run into that stuff. But I'm sure as hell not going to go read all this stuff just in case, so I can sit there and go, I know what he's talking about.
Yeah, even the comic book companies don't really try to hook the two up anymore.
No,
they, they'll make all of their trades available for, Ant-Man when the new Ant-Man movie comes up, but at no point do they release anything official of this is where this came from and this is where,
Yeah, because even when people can point out and say, oh, well, obviously this was based off of this run. It's like, very so loosely that sometimes you literally have to point it out for anybody to even realize, oh, well, yeah, I guess that was based off of that run. But
barely.
Yeah.
The connection being the name of that person that walked through the name on the office door. It's like, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, at the most, that's like the showrunner or something may have read that run and went, oh, so here's this idea where this happens. I'm gonna do my own version of that. It's not gonna have anything to do. It's gonna be so totally different that you may not even realize that they're, the same idea.
And again, that's fine. I've got the books. If I want to relive that, I'll just go back and read that. That works just fine for me.
Yeah, the only time anybody literally goes back and ruins those books is when they recolor them. You know?
Man, oh man, those epics, that modern colorization,
Yes,
it all
sometimes they're
looks
bad.
oversaturated to me.
Yep.
You know, and I don't mind the way that the colors look on newsprint, anyways.
Yeah.
Now, I have heard in interviews, you know, a lot of colorists admit that, yeah, that's not, you know, really what I was going for. That's not what was in my head.
Yeah.
And you know, and so it's like, well, yeah, and that's unfortunate. I mean, I the limitations of what technology actually will or won't let you do. Yeah, I could see that being a problem, but it's what I grew up with. Um, 32 or 64 color on newsprint, that works fine with me.
Yep.
The new shiny paper, uh, digital coloring necessary. I I support a lot of Kickstarters, and when I look at their previews or their tempt me stuff to get people to pay for the Kickstarter, if it looks like it was drawn on a computer, I don't get it because I
Yeah.
don't like that look. Um, you know, everything nowadays is colored by computer, so I can't get away from that if I want to read new stuff. But if the line work looks like it was computer generated,
Yeah.
I'm just like, no, I don't like the look.
Even with digital coloring, though, it's, you know, I think about books like Paper Girls.
Hmm.
That is such a, I don't want to say simplistic, but it's a lot of solids,
Hmm.
solid colors. I love that so much. I think some folks who get on some of these books that are colorists, and you know, it's like I can do all this digitally now, and there's so many different brushes and stuff I can use, and I can make the person's skin look like it's contoured and define all the muscles, even though the penciler didn't do any of that themselves. And it's just sometimes it's so over the top that I can't even read it.
Well, this concept of everybody wanting to leave their mark, it's like, you know, that I don't think that way. So,
Yeah,
you know, I hope that what I do is good enough that will be the mark. That's what I leave. You know, so it's like, well, I don't know. I guess I don't, you know, work in industries where there are thousands of people and you have to stand out somehow or whatever. But I just writers, you know, any kind of the artists on there. I have never heard of comments like that from letterers. How they're like, you
yeah,
know, well, I've got to make sure that my fonts stand out from. It's like said no one that I've ever heard. So
yeah. It's like as a letterer, I think most the good letterers know that the mark of being a good letterer is that people don't even notice that anything, you know, that there's any difference in the letters. You know, it's
yep,
like because you're not the letters shouldn't take you out of the story. And that Superman
yeah,
story,
that
that
was
the letters totally took me out of that story. And it's the same thing, unfortunately, with coloring. I think there is um, I mean, really, it's with anything with the comic book, the writing and the art. And when I say the art, we're talking pencils, inks, colors, and letters. It should all work as
yes,
one cohesive unit, so that nothing necessarily stands out more than the other. You should, you know, the perfect comic. You shouldn't be going, well, you know, the art was really the story was okay, but the art was fantastic. You know, it should just be that was a great comic, done.
right. The
You know.
book was
Yep.
was awesome. Yeah.
Yep. All right, I think I'm gonna hit the hay.
All right, man.
I don't understand how you can stay up this late.
Yeah, just the same way that you are. It's you know.
Well, but you're an hour ahead of me. It's
Well,
10:39 your time.
it's
What time do you have to get up in the morning?
5:30 is usually when I get up.
Yes. Screw that. I mean, that's about what time I have to be up too.
Well,
But
it's You know,
it's only 9:30 my time. So.
There's only so much time in a day, and I have to, you know, do the things that I want to do, or I don't end up doing. It's like, yeah, like anything else, you just make a choice, and yeah.
Yeah.
Now
it was so much easier to make that choice when we were 20.
Oh well, fucking A, yeah, it was, and believe me, Friday at 5:30 when I get up, I am not going to be pleased at all.
Yeah.
But I only have one more day. Then I have 2 days to sleep, however late I want to sleep. So you know, it balances out.
Yeah, and then yet, if you sleep too late, you're angry.
Oh yeah,
You know, it's like I've wasted so much of the day.
Exactly. I have so much of this time now that I can't do anything with because I slept it, and yeah, I do that too.
Yeah. All right, this cat is over here trying to eat my phone. So,
Ooh, okay.
I don't know why. She's weird. Oh, now she's leaving. All right, yeah. Let me get back to you tomorrow. Maybe we can do this again next Tuesday and get another 3 episodes out there. And
okay, let me take a look here real quick. This is the 18th, so yeah, I don't have anything going on. So
yeah, I don't have anything going on either. So, and I don't know about the following week because she didn't have her schedule yet for the following week. But I know next week she works till noon on Tuesday, so I'll have Tuesday evening off.
Okay.
Free on Tuesday evening. So.
Alrighty, man. Just let me know.
All right. Actually, let me end this live stream.
Oh, yeah. Bye, guys.
Bye, y'all.